Hello and welcome to episode 215 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRP. And joining me as always is the silky smooth League Freak. At League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm good. I showed you that in confidence.
And trust me, I'm very confident.
Oh, jeez. How's things?
All good, mate, all good. Okay, let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
I've got a delivery during the week.
Yes, so did I.
And it's from Manscaped.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I haven't opened it yet.
Okay, now I have opened it, so I know what's in it, but we thought it would be cool to have, like, you open it, just to get your first reaction of what it's like.
Yeah, that's right. So I've got my trusty pocket knife.
Okay.
And I'm going to use it to open the box instead of cutting my hand.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
By the way, if you go to manscaped.com and you put in our exclusive code for our listeners, that code is NRL, you get 20% off and free shipping. So, and that's for what Andrew, or anything on their website, but Andrew's seeing what he's got in this pack from Manscaped. So,
all right. Open it up.
Yeah.
Got a bag here. What's in this? It's just a pair of boxes, is it? It's a shirt.
It's a nice looking t-shirt, hey?
It's got on it, Manscaped, your balls will thank you.
And it's got it on on the pocket area and across the back on the shoulders.
In much larger letters on the back.
Yeah. I'm going to wear it out. 100%.
Now there's another box.
Yes. Now it's got a pull thing, right?
Yes, I see that.
Pull that.
Oh, trust me, I don't need to be taught how to pull.
Okay. I was born.
Excuse I. Man, this is a nice box.
It is, isn't it?
It's got a bit of advertising there. All of the other things that you can buy with them. Let's get you mown. Yeah.
It's like
charge your trimmer, handle it the right way. Shows you which way to hold it, so you don't, cut a cag out.
Yep.
There's a sack here. What's in the sack?
Yeah, check out the sack.
It's taken a while. Oh, this looks like it's the clipper stuff, is it?
Yeah, all the attachments and things, so you can pick. It's like when you shave your head, you can pick the different levels you want. So you can go like full Brazilian, or you can go with the stubble or whatever you're going for there.
I'll be going with the George Williams option.
The George Williams option.
He's got staff to do his.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a bit of what do we got here? Crop reviver, ball toner.
Mm-hmm.
Some crop preserver, some ball deodorant. Everyone needs ball deodorant.
Yeah.
There it is.
And there's there you go.
It's even got a light on it. So, you can shave your cags in the dark.
In the darkness, yeah. That's how I like to do it, in the darkness with a spotlight. I don't know, there's just something about it does it for me. There's also some boxer shorts in there too.
Yeah, I just saw that. Some boxer shorts here.
So the thing is that was, for me, I was like really impressed with, was just like, if you got that as a gift, and Father's Day is, I think it's in September, October, something like that. You get that Father's Day for someone, they're going to be really impressed. Like, they're going to open it and be like, oh, because it's a really nice package. It's all like the inside of the box is all like blacked out, and it's got nice gold writing on it and stuff like that. And it's really impressive.
Yeah. It really is. That's bloody awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, go to manscaped.com, put in our code, NRL, get 20% off, get free shipping. It's a 30-day money-back guarantee. And, yeah, fantastic gift for the dude in your life.
Absolutely.
Or yourself, fellas. Get something nice for yourself.
Yeah. And hell, let's be honest. Ladies can get one as well if they want.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Why not? They can do that.
Yeah. Manscaped won't care if a woman's going to buy it.
No, not at all.
Right, well, that's fantastic. Let's get into the footy talk. Round 13's just finished.
Yes.
And
what do you think is the big takeaway from round 13?
I think we're starting to see which teams are going to be in the finals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it looks to me like Penrith are going to be a genuine top 4 team.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I'd even say probably genuine top 3. They're getting to that point now where they've won so many games where everyone's going to say, right, there's a loss around the corner for them.
Yeah.
And they're not looking like there's the chink in the armour. Like they're getting away to good quick starts. Mm-hmm. They're getting 2 or 3 tries up early before their opponents get on the board. And by then, Penrith's got too much of a lead. They just control the game from there on in. Melbourne rested a few players and still put 40 points on.
Yep.
They just keep rolling players off the production line. It's just impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Parramatta, who were, for mine, the pre-season favourites for the title.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm the same.
It's hard to judge them on today's game because those conditions were atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people had this opinion that there was a big gulf between Parramatta and Cronulla.
Yep.
And I think Cronulla they performed above what everyone thought of them.
Yep.
And proved that they're actually not that far behind Parramatta at all. And that's for a team that was missing a few players and fairly inexperienced. And it may not be something that you'd agree with, but Sean Johnson was fucking, unbelievable in the wet.
He was very good in this game. Yeah, the thing about Parramatta, and look, go back a month and a half and they just looked unbeatable. They looked amazing. And they just beaten Penrith at about that time. And it was like, who's going to stop Parramatta? I don't know. They look like they've taken a step back. If I had to say the top 2 teams right now, I'd say Penrith number 1, Storm number 2. And I would say that the Eels are maybe falling back to the Roosters. I don't think the Roosters are going to win the title. And I was talking to a follower of mine on Twitter about this a couple of days ago. I think the Roosters, they've got too many injuries. They've got a couple of players in that team that are absolute liabilities in Jake Friend, Ryan Hall, who's not a first grader at all. And I just think that it's going to be a bridge too far. They might be able to go further than you would normally expect just because they've got a lot of winning experience in the team. But I don't look at this Roosters team. I mean, you watch a Roosters game and the commentators talk like they walk on water. And it's kind of weird to see because they're just beating some pretty average teams while they do it. So, the Dragons made them work for it. So I tend to think that the Roosters won't win it. I think it's a 3-horse race at the moment, and I think the Raiders aren't going to win it either. I think that they've got a few players that are a liability in their team too, and I think they've taken a step back from last year.
I think the Roosters and the Raiders have been hampered somewhat by injuries, and they've got some players coming back at different times, and it's creating a little bit of instability in the squad because they get on a bit of a roll for like 2 weeks with the same sort of players, and then all of a sudden a few of their injured stars come back, and it's sort of things get a little bit unstable for a week or two, and they look like they're about to, hit their form again. Someone else comes back, and just things get a little bit wonky here and there, and they just haven't really hit their straps yet for some reason.
And look, they on the weekend against Penrith, they had the ball for the first 7 minutes, couldn't score a try. And for the next 33 minutes, Penrith put on the best half of football I've ever seen a Penrith team play in my life. And I tweeted that out as soon as the half ended. Well, then I saw Ryan Girdler had tweeted the same thing. People started sending me his tweet, and they were like, look what Ryan Girdler sent. He said the same thing. Mal Meninga on Fox Sports said that they played exquisite football in that first half. I think everyone was super impressed. And the second half was not as good for Penrith. The Canberra Raiders won the second half, but they'd shut it down by then. The game was already run and won. And, the thing about Penrith that kind of shocks me is their effort is 80 minutes. Like, you don't get any sort of respite from the Panthers for 80 minutes. Their depth is ridiculous. Like, the only player I think that they can really lose, and it's going to be a big problem, is Cleary, because their forward pack is super deep. They've been losing backs. Like, people don't realise their backs have been injured quite a lot this year, and you just don't realise it because they've brought in this ridiculously deep roster of backs to replace them. It's really only Cleary that's the one that seems irreplaceable, and it'd be interesting to see how they played without Cleary. I mean, they did it for a couple of weeks, and that was coming out of the lockdown, so it's hard to judge them on that. But they won those games, so I'm kind of shocked at how good Penrith are. I really am, and I can't wait for the Eels game that's coming up down the track. I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks away now. But I went through the Panthers roster, and it was really only that one game against the Eels that I would even say is 50-50, which I know is being pretty confident, but flat out, the rest of them, they should all win.
Yeah. It's interesting, as I said, I think in a last episode, last year it looked like the whole attack was clunky and nothing was quite clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And so the results they got were through just being a little bit classier or holding onto the ball better.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, they struggled to score points last year.
And remember, their forwards were really soft.
Yeah, the forwards were not trying anywhere near hard enough. And I think it was because the attack was so poor. They were playing such simple football, lots of one-outs. And so it was easy to defend. It would have been hard for any forward to look good in that. They're playing with a lot more width now. And so they've got forwards running on different angles, and people have got more defined roles. Everything looks a lot smoother now. And it shows in their attack. They're scoring points easily. Canberra, on the other hand, if you have a look on the ladder, there's 3 teams in the bottom 8 who have scored more points than this year.
Mm.
The Tigers, the Dragons, and the Cowboys.
Which is crazy.
That shows you where the Raiders are at attack-wise. The Tigers have scored 57 points more than the Raiders this year. The Dragons have scored 16 points more. The Cowboys are third last, only won 3 games, and they've scored 7 points more.
And this is the problem the Raiders have had all year. Like, it's not just something where the last few weeks their attack has really bogged down. This is something that we've talked about, Can you win in the NRL with an English halfback? I don't think you can, especially when they're playing alongside a ball runner, a big hard ball runner. I forget his name all the time. What's his name? White. That's it. Because if you get just a half decent playmaker inside Whiten can just play his own game. And Whiten is, to an extent, playing his own game still, but they've got no halfback play at all. I'd said that they had a problem at hooker, and unfortunately they've had a few problems at hooker since then. But yeah, they're fallen off. I think they're out of it at this stage.
I think the issue is more so they don't have genuine attacking centres. I mean, Curtis Scott has been atrocious this year.
Terrible.
And Croker's been honest, but he's never been an attacking powerhouse or anything like that. He's more of a defensive centre, if we're honest.
And his defence at times is fucking atrocious.
Yeah. So that makes it hard. They've only just got John Bateman back, who was one of their attacking go-to players, and he got injured, so he's out again.
He got injured again?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, really?
Elliot Whitehead, he's a genuinely class second rower, but he's parked on one side, and he's either playing too far into the middle or way too wide to try and help create opportunities there. And so the problem they've got is all they can do at the moment is just punch it up the guts.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, and I think that these rules that we're playing under, where the game's a bit quicker, does not help Canberra. I think that it has hindered Papali a little bit, even though Papali's still a class player. I think that these rules are away from him a little bit. And I think Whitehead he's a toiler. He's not going to, bust through lines and stuff like that. He's just going to work hard during the game. And, yeah, I worried about the Raiders going into this season, and I feel as though a lot of my concerns are sort of playing out. Whether they can turn it around, I just don't think they've got the personnel to, and I really do think that they need to get a halfback or a hooker that has the ability to be a playmaker, and I think it's too late. I really do. I don't think that you can actually pick up anyone now going into the rest of the year. I think that they shut the door on that. So, man, it's a tough one for the Raiders, because they would have gone into that game against the Panthers thinking, right, we test ourselves against the top team in the comp. They probably would have felt like they could have got one over the Panthers. Panthers are a young team. Raiders were in grand final last year, and the Panthers just ended it in 40 minutes, and it was kind of shocking the way that they did that.
Yeah, I mean, for honest, the Raiders haven't been disgraceful this year. So they were never going to be an easy beat against Penrith. I mean, you've got to look at their results. After the first three rounds where they had three very comfortable wins, they beat the Titans 24-6, the Warriors 26, Storm 22-6.
Mm-hmm. And that was the game where people were like, holy shit, the Raiders, man, we got to watch them this year. They just put one on the Storm.
Yeah. Then they lost to Newcastle, and it was by 16 points. They weren't in it. Beat the Tigers by 8, lost to Manly by 8 in a game they should have won. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of where you thought, uh-oh. They were pretty strong against an informed Parramatta side, lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
Struggled over the Dragons, but got the win. Lost to Melbourne by 6. Then they beat the Roosters, South, and the Cowboys, all by small margins.
Mm.
So it's not like they were atrocious. Like, their class alone was getting them home.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw that what we saw against Penrith is that the class of the Raiders is not up to the same level as the class of the Panthers this year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even close.
No. And they're not alone, first of all. There's plenty of teams the Panthers have done this to this year. But that first half was just so complete. And I think the crazy thing about the Panthers is that, and we've talked about it for a little bit now, their attack was a problem. And it was just going to be a case of some of their youngsters getting more games under their belt and realising how good they actually are. And I think that now we're seeing players like Crichton and Naden in particular who are like, oh yeah, I'm a giant centre that is able to power my way through, run my way through, I'm athletic, and I'm getting good service from the people inside me. And they're starting to get those results now. And the crazy thing to think about is that this is the youngest team in the competition by quite a way. And they're just going to get better. And the youngsters that they're blooding now, they're doing it in an environment where they're watching their teammates play 80-minute football and they're winning games and they're beating teams in grinding contests, and they're learning all the good lessons that you want a footy team to learn and you want young players to learn. It's kind of crazy what could come of this team.
Yeah, I mean, they're setting records at the moment that are matching them with, what was it, 2003?
Yeah, and it's weird.
91?
Yeah, and it's weird because that 2003 team was like it was like an atomic bomb went off in the NRL. It's like, boom, Penrith have come out of nowhere. I think they won 11 straight games that year, and it's really set up the rest of their year. And it's weird to line this team up against that team because that team is sort of holding such a special place. But if you're being honest, statistically, this team is way better. And they're the best defensive Penrith team I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, they're very impressive all across the park. Now, I wanted to quickly mention the Dragons.
Yeah.
Because they were atrocious to start the year, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been very little to change since then. They're still losing games, but they're scoring points, which is different.
Yeah.
Like against the Roosters on the weekend, they only scored 16 points, and I say only because the 4 weeks before that they scored 24 at least each time, and got 2 wins and 2 losses out of it.
Mm-hmm.
My question is to you: if you took Zach Lomax out of that side, would the Dragons win a game? Because he has scored 116 of their 248 points, almost half.
Wow. That's insane.
And he's been having an absolute fucking gun of a year.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty well considering the team he's been in.
Yeah, like you see him, he'll get the ball and you just go, you sit up and you go, shit, something might happen here, because that's just the way he's playing at the moment. He's just playing with spiders on him. And creating so many opportunities and scoring points. I can't believe that other clubs aren't trying to get him out of that system, because he'd be a gun anywhere. I think he'd walk into pretty much any side at the moment. Yeah,
there'd be a few teams that he'd be very handy on.
West Tigers?
Just wait. They'll get him in 8 or 9 years. Just wait. The other player that I was impressed with on the weekend was Tristan Saylor. And he was playing at 5'8", which is where we both said we didn't know where he was going to play, but we'd like to see him play there. And look, defensively, he's still getting there. He's not quite there yet, but I think he provided them with a little bit of a spark that they've really been missing. And I just can't wait until the Dragons tell him that they're going to release him at the end of the year, because that seems to be the way the Dragons have been operating lately. So he was pretty handy as well.
Especially now that the Dragons have unearthed Adam Clune.
Yeah.
It seems like they've decided that he's going to be their long-term 7.
And I don't know why.
So it just means that you've got Corey Norman and Ben Hunt fighting over the 6-jumper.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to happen because, they're spending, $2 million for those two players? They've got they're just going to be compelled to fit them in there somewhere to justify their wages. And so Saylor's just going to be on the outer.
Yeah, there's no place for it. It's not like you can play him at fullback. I think he's super wasted on the wing. He's definitely not a centre. I don't think he's a hooker at all. I think you got to play him at 5'8" and just let him be a footballer to a certain extent. And yeah, it does. It feels like that he's going to be the guy that they let go. And man, I think it'd be a really big mistake by the Dragons, because they really need to hold on to those players that can spark their attack.
I'll tell you what, if you were a team that needed a 6 and a 9, and you had someone with a bit of fucking brains about them, you'd go up to Tristan Saylor and say, look, we'll offer you this and you can have a genuine starting spot in our side next year. And then you go up to Brandon Smith at the Storm and say the same thing to him.
Yeah.
Knowing that both clubs have got cover for those positions.
Well, who would you do that with then?
Well, I'll tell you what. If I was, say, let's just pick a team at random, say like the West Tigers.
Yes.
Who don't have a 6 or a 9 set for next year.
Yeah.
They would be too relatively cheap, given that they're in the spine.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant options to have with lots of upside and a long future in front of them. Brandon Smith is ready.
Yeah.
He's still playing all over the place to accommodate Cameron Smith, and there's no way knowing the Storm are going to dump Harry Grant, because we've seen what Harry Grant can do. We saw how much he makes the Tigers better.
Yeah.
Just by the fact he didn't play on the weekend, the Tigers got dicked by 40.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way the Storm are letting him go. And if they're going to sit there and say, look, we need to have a more attack-oriented hooker, then they're going with Harry Grant. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Yeah, and Grant can hold his own in defence as well. That's the other thing that makes it a more obvious choice to stay with him.
I also worry about Brandon Smith's style of play because he goes into everything 1,000 miles an hour, and I love watching him play, and he's an absolute wrecking ball. But it's a little bit like Isaac Luke in the sense of I worry that his career is going to tail off at an earlier age than it maybe would for other players because he plays that way. The other thing about him is he's a very good hooker, but I feel as though you get more out of him when he's playing that sort of back rower sort of role where he can use his footwork, and he's a smaller size player. He's a very good defender, and I feel as though the Storm especially get a hell of a lot out of him in that role. And I wonder if they actually get more of him in that role, than they do from him when he does play hooker. And that's a weird thing to say because he's a hooker, and to have a smaller dude like him, and he's built like a brick shithouse. But I still wonder if you get more out of him in that role that they've had him in for the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that's one that the Storm are trying to figure out. I know I saw an article recently where Dale Finucane came out and said that he's willing to change positions so that the Storm can keep Harry Grant and Brandon Smith both in the same team, which would suggest that Smith would play at lock, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem with that is I think his attacking talents are being wasted by being a battering ram. Like, he does play bloody hard.
Yeah.
But he's not exactly... an absolute idiot when it comes to attack and organising the play as well. And I think he needs to be given that opportunity, and I don't think he's ever going to get it at the Storm because he'll be behind Cameron Smith and that'll be behind Harry Grant, and so he's never going to be a genuine 9 again. He's just going to be a Victor Radley type player. You just play him anywhere in the forwards. And I think for a bloke who's played Test footy for New Zealand as a hooker, I think he deserves a little bit better than that.
Yep.
And I reckon he'd walk into a 9-jumper at nearly any other NRL club.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the Tigers would be stupid not to offer him a contract.
Make him an offer he can't refuse too. And not like try and undercut him. I know the West Tigers have a really good history of trying to underpay top class players, but they're going to eventually have to wake up and realise that if you want somebody that's at the proper top of their game, you're going to have to pay for it.
I think one thing they should look at doing is saying, and this is going to be a bit left field, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I said to Brandon Smith, we want to sign you on a 4-year deal,
mm-hmm.
and by your 2nd or 3rd year, we want to be looking at you as being the captain of the club.
Yeah.
Who else have they got?
I agree. I don't think that would be a bad idea at all. Because he's a test player, as you say. He's also somebody that leads by example. Like, even in that Storm team that's got so much experience, he gets the ball and he sparks a lot of their attack just by the way he runs the ball, the way he gets involved. Even in defence, on the defensive side of the ball, he can do that too. I love him. I love watching him play. He's one of my favourite players to watch play.
Oh, likewise.
And how many teams would turn him down? I think that weirdly enough, I think the Storm would turn him down because they got Cameron Smith and Harry Grant. I think that the Panthers would probably turn him down because the Coruscant situation is just like perfect player for the perfect situation. There wouldn't be too many other teams, so that I think Parramatta would turn him down.
Yep. Canberra would. Whether we think they should or not, it's a different matter, but Canberra would turn him down. The Roosters would turn him down.
Do you reckon that the Roosters wouldn't have him instead of Jake Friend?
No, I think the Roosters would see Radley as their long-term 9.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you know, it's interesting because I had somebody saying to me probably about a month ago that if Josh Hodgson wasn't a POM, that I wouldn't have been saying how bad he was for the attack at the Raiders. And it was interesting because in the exact same day, and I think it was an early game, I'd been saying what a liability Jake Friend was for the Roosters. And no one said shit about that. But I had a lineup of, pasty-faced, bad teeth, bald-headed idiots messaging me for about a week and a half over Hodgson. And it's interesting because I've started seeing Roosters fans now tweeting how bad he is for that team. And they love running the organisation, loves Jake Friend. But, man, he's bad for them. He's really bad for them.
Yeah, the thing that made Jake Friend good was the fact that he didn't have to do much attack-wise because he always had, two good halves to do the most of that work for him. Some talented outside backs and back rows as well. So the pressure on him attack-wise, and even to this day, is still very limited. There's not much he has to do. When you've got Keary, Flanagan's been pretty good. You've got Tedesco at the back. You throw in the fact you've got some bloody good centres as well.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to pass the ball on to people and they'll just do the rest of the work for you. So it makes his job a lot easier. But I think if you had put Jake Friend in another team that doesn't have those luxuries, he'd be exposed pretty quickly as just being a bloke who passes off the deck and tackles a lot.
Yeah, and look, I don't think he's a first grader right now. And I know that there'll be people that'll be like, what are you talking about? But I've really watched him play over the last couple of months, and he makes bad decisions. His passing game isn't that good. He gives away stupid penalties a lot, and he's like the most un-Roosters player that you could find, and the club loves him though. Like, I think if the club didn't love him, he wouldn't be playing for them right now.
Yeah, it's a tough one, I guess. But I suppose the other thing, too, they don't really have any other genuine 9 options at the moment with Radley being injured.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's the thing. And it's like, I know they tried Lachlan Lamb a little bit at hooker at times in games. They moved him into the starting side and dropped Flanagan, which was an interesting thing. I've seen Lachlan Lamb play in the reserve grade. I actually called a game he was in, and I've seen a fair few games of him so far this season, and I don't see the hype. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's that's a good comment, well made.
Go on, jump in with me. Lachlan Lamb, shit, forever. Not a first grader, come on.
I think the problem I'm seeing with Lachlan Lamb is a very English coaching idea, and that is every halfback can be a hooker. Yeah. And no, especially not in the NRL. You've got to be a good defender if you're going to be a number 9. And I don't know. I'll be honest. I've not seen enough of Lachlan Lamb to be able to make a genuine decision on him. But I haven't been overly impressed with what I have seen so far.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to give him a few more chances. But saying that, if you're a 7 and you can't look good in that Rooster side, I don't know. Something not quite right. I mean, Kyle Flanagan walked in there and has looked like $1 million pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he was dropped, but there you go.
Do you know who looked terrible today was Michael Morgan for the Cowboys?
Yes. He was, let's be honest, he was shit.
Yeah.
And so were the Cowboys.
They really were. They didn't turn up. They got
schooled.
Mm-hmm.
You know what was the really dumb thing I found with the Cowboys today, more than anything, was they made very little effort to get Taumalolo involved in the game until the last 20 minutes when he came back on. I went, when you have an absolute beast of a human like that who can create opportunities just through running straight, and all you've got to do is just loiter around him, why are you not using that? The kicking game was atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Their options on the last tackle were just horrid.
Mm-hmm.
And their defence, especially on the edges, it was laughable.
Yeah,
I was looking at it thinking, I think the Tigers could beat them.
Yeah, I agree. And like in that game, the one shining light was every so often Taumalolo would just do a hit up and he'd still carry players with him. But outside of that, there was nothing at all from the Cowboys. And you got to wonder, like, Josh Hannay wants to take over as the coach. I wonder if he's been basically told he won't be the coach, and so he's checked out, which is fair enough. But I I was actually watching them play today, and I thought, didn't Paul Green make the right decision? Because he can point to that team with anybody that he goes into an interview with and say, you know what, I had a lean couple of years at the Cowboys, but look how bad they got as soon as I left. Because this is a team and they were playing the Titans. They made the Titans look really, really good.
Yeah, the one person they made look really good in that Titans side was Ash Taylor.
Yeah.
Jeez, he looked like he was coming with everybody. Right decision he probably could today. But the most impressive player for me on that field today was Kevin Proctor.
Yeah, he played very well. I haven't
seen him play that good since he left the Storm.
Yeah, and you know what? I was watching him play, and I was thinking to myself, don't give him another contract. Let him go.
There was this moment where Ash Taylor put a grubber in, I think it was, and it was way too heavy. And Proctor had, with all the speed of one of the fastest swingers in the game, came flying through, dived over the dead ball line and raked the ball back before it went dead and got it back into the end goal, and Brian Kelly scored, and I looked at it and went, what the fuck is this Superman shit he's pulling out of his ass? Since when was he that fast and that agile?
It's like that Greg Inglis trying that test match, that centenary test match.
That's exactly what it was like. You think, how does he do that? Inglis, yeah, you can understand it. Fucking Kevin Proctor, what?
Well, that's the thing about Kevin Proctor. Like, when he was at the Storm, he was a really handy player. Big dude, athletic for his size, like good mobility for someone as big as him. Went up to the Titans and he just switched it off, which was really weird.
I think a large part of it, though, is he had coaches that were trying to make him run straight lines like Luke Lewis all the time. Yeah. And Luke Lewis ran straight lines because he got old and didn't have the agility anymore. But he still had that. That's sweet, sweet running. Man, he ran sweet lines. And so you didn't need the step at the line. He could just hit those lines hard, fast, and go through and still worked. And that's what they tried to turn Proctor into.
Yeah.
But man, he was on another. He wrecked the Cowboys today.
He really did. One of the best games I've ever seen him play.
That pass he did on the inside for Brimson to score. He took a crash ball and then sent a little inside ball. Oh my God, how did you pull that shit off? It was a phenomenal game, and the Cowboys just looked horrid. I didn't see a single player on their team who I looked at and thought they would walk into another NRL side. And I know I'm saying that a lot at the moment, but I mean that's how you got to judge players, is how they compare with their rivals.
Yeah, there was the one player, I think it was Drinkwater, who there was a game a few weeks ago where he literally was dropping passes off of scrums that were really just dead drops, no reason to drop it. And he started doing it early on in this game too. And I think it was him anyway. And like to the point where if they had have hooked him, it would have made the team better. But he had so many, like Cohen Hess, I would never sign him. He's done. He's like, remember Dane Carlaw? He's Dane Carlaw 2.0. Starts his career looking like a monster, and then it just disappears overnight, and it never returns. Like, he should sign for Salford or something. There were so many players in this Cowboys team that were just, and the sad thing was, you watch Michael Morgan. I know he's come back from injury, but when you look last year, and he looked like he was getting bashed out of the game, basically, and you wondered to yourself, like, is he going to come back next year and be able to really handle rugby league again, first grade rugby league? Well, he gets injured.
Yeah, look, I found today more than anything, he looked tentative. Wouldn't say scared or timid, but he looked tentative. He wasn't taking the line on. His kicking game was really average. He just looked very timid.
Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Let's go to the elephant in the room.
Okay.
West Tigers.
Okay. You know what? We might have to turn off that F1. Because for the people that don't know, Andrew's showing me the F1 race on Skype. Allegedly, because that would be illegal. But, yeah, we might have to do that just to save the connection.
No, I need a distraction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into the details of this game because they're atrocious. What's worth noting is the West Tigers have got an awful lot of players who they need to get rid of before Christmas, and I'm talking this Christmas. Let's just go alphabetically through the list, shall we? Michael Cheekham, he's 28. No. Robert Jennings. No. Chris Lawrence, sorry mate. I love you as a player, but
it's over.
You've done your 250 games. You've got a well earned 250 games on mind you. But you don't deserve many more, and it's not because you're not putting in. God knows you do put in, but the skills, they've left you behind. Joe Leilua, I was not confident at the start, and I'm just sick of seeing him in the team right now. Some of the tackle attempts he makes in the game, you just look at him and go, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you've got arms hanging off the edge of your shoulders. Use him, you dickhead.
And the weird thing is, at the start of the game, he gets the ball, palms one guy off, and puts his winger into space. And you're thinking, man, if he played like that all the time, he'd be one of the best players in the game. And then the rest of the game, it's just garbage.
Utter garbage. Chris McQueen, goodbye. Benji Marshall is still the best half of the club, but I don't think he's going to get better next year. I think I'd be telling him to retire at the end of the year. Make him a coach or something like that.
Yeah.
Moses and Bai's got to go. And that's because we don't know what his position is, but every position they've tried him in so far, he's just not been good at. And he's on way too much money. Russell Packer, goodbye. Josh Reynolds, goodbye. Elijah Taylor has to go. And then we're going to look at players like Billy Walters, who's in his mid-20s.
His knee's gone, ACL and MCL.
And the thing is, the Tigers are looking at him at being a genuine 9 option. I mean, how many have they not learnt? Obviously, the answer is no. But when Robbie Farah got injured several years ago, they brought in, they saw it as an opportunity to bring in that Matt Ballon, who just took a heap of paychecks from the Tigers and gave him about 60 minutes of game time in 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly fabricating it either. I don't even think he actually played 80 minutes over 3 years for the club.
No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think it was 60 minutes actually, because there was like a bit of a game he got injured and then he come back and I think he got injured again or something weird like that.
And his replacement was always going to be Jacob Little, and the poor kid's just been injured the whole time. Every time he plays, he just gets injured again. He's had like 3 knee operations or something, and he's only 22 or something. Tigers have just got to bite the bullet and say, you know what, we need to buy a genuine 9. And if I was them, I'd be looking at Brandon Smith. If you can't get him, then I'd be going to the Titans and taking either Mitch Rain or preferably Nathan Peets and just say, look, we need one of you. They just need someone with experience who's a genuine 9 at the club.
Yeah, and
Brandon Smith would be best, but I'd take Peets. He's not a bad player.
Yeah, and like waiting for a young dude who you want to play hooker, who is injury prone, and it's like you give him his chance and he gets injured again, and he's gone for the year. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you waiting for? This isn't working. You don't need to see it anymore. I look at this team. The only players that Luciano Leilua has been a brilliant signing for them. He's been great.
He's been phenomenal. And even I had doubts about him when he came across, only because he just couldn't hold down a spot in that Dragons side. But then again, Dragons had a pretty good forward pack, so understandable. But yeah, he's been dynamic in the Tigers edge.
I like Josh Aloiai. I think he's a bloody good player.
He's a beast. Sean Bloor, who made his debut, I think was he the Panthers junior?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
That kid looks like he's got a ton of potential. I'm reminded a bit of Simon Dwyer with him. I don't know if you remember him or not.
Yep.
I like the look of him. Alex Twoll is a very good lock. He's been hampered a bit by injury.
What do you do with Luke Brooks? Because at the start of the year, we were saying, like, Luke Brooks, he might start looking elsewhere. At this stage, I watch him play, and I'm like, man, the West Tigers should be telling him to look elsewhere. He's just, I don't know what he's doing with him this year, but he is just giving them zero.
Here's the problem with the Tigers and Luke Brooks, and why it works in Luke Brooks' favour, okay, is, okay, if the Tigers say, we don't want Luke Brooks anymore, who are they going to get who's going to cost a similar price to Luke Brooks, given that the Tigers don't exactly have a lot of salary cap space to use, and given that halfbacks at this stage are costing around about $1 million a pop?
That's a good point.
And that's the problem they're in, is if they wanted another halfback, the only one that's going to be coming off the market at the moment is Ash Taylor, and is he an upgrade on Luke Brooks? And I'd argue no.
No, I right now, I would say it's a sideways move.
It is, and at the moment, you're getting Luke Brooks for cheaper.
Yeah.
So you stick with him. They do have some young guys coming through. I don't know when they're going to be ready. Some Tigers fans are suggesting they should be given a go now. I'd say no. I don't know what they're going to do there.
I like North Luma is obviously a great player, like top of the line player. Tommy Talau, I don't mind him. I think he's looked all right in games. I think he probably just needs a little bit more experience, but there's things I've seen him do. He's pretty handy.
He's a handy player. His hands let him down at times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a pretty handy player. Their forwards are generally pretty good. Like Thomas McHaley's been much improved this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Clark, Luke Garner, they've both been very good as well. So Sam McIntyre's played pretty well when he's played. So they've got some decent young forwards there. I don't know if they need much work there. It's their spine that's the problem.
And the thing with the Tigers is, like, if you say to Maguire, you can do whatever you want. If you think Benji Marshall needs to go at the end of the year, man, we give you the green light, okay? But this is a club that for basically 20 years has stuck by the thing of, like, no, we don't pay for talent. And so who are they going to get?
And the other thing they've always done too is they've always been absurdly loyal to players.
Mm.
And it's for no reason either. Like, some players don't deserve loyalty, and not because of their behaviour, but because their form doesn't warrant it.
Yeah.
And they've got to get rid of this mentality of we've got to be loyal to players. There's no such thing as loyalty. There hasn't been for years. A lot of people always whinge about, what happened to the loyalty in rugby league? You know, there was never loyalty in rugby league. We discussed this in one of our first ever episodes.
Mm-hmm.
What there was forced loyalty, where you either played for the team where you represented, and then had a lifetime contract with and could never break, or you didn't play a rugby league.
Yeah.
There's no loyalty. And so you've got to stop thinking about that. You've got to start going, right, we need to win games. Winning is the best currency in rugby league. And at the moment, being loyal to players who are not getting the job done does not result in wins. 3 finals appearances in 20 years is proof of that. It's time to change the fucking record.
Yeah, what did you think about the criticism from Tigers fans about Maguire and his coaching? Like, do you think that it's criticism that's warranted, or do you think that it is a little bit unfair considering the situation he's in? Like, if I'm Maguire right now, I look at the situation, and if he can't do what he wants to do, I consider it being my last year at the Tigers.
I challenge any first-grade coach worth their salt to take on that entire squad and make them perform better.
Mm.
You cannot blame Maguire. Look at the talent he's got to work with. He's bringing through a bunch of juniors to try and make them, try and create a bit of depth that he can work with for a few years at the club, so that he can bring in some stars to put around him. And that part of his job at the moment is working. He's brought through a lot of good young players there. But he's got so much of the cap tied up in players who are not delivering anymore and have barely delivered for the club.
Mm.
And that needs to be cleaned out. And if that means that next year they've got to write it off, probably even get a spoon, just so that they can clear out a heap of players sure, they might have to take a hit to the salary cap for the year, but if that's what they've got to do to clear the decks and get some space free to buy some players in 2022, then so be it. They can't carry these players for another season. They've got to say at the end of the year, right, that's it, we're cancelling all these players' contracts.
Yeah.
Pay them out in full. I don't care what it costs. You can't be carrying them anymore. Because it's just another year where you're wasting it, because some of these players are signed up till 21, 22. You've got to get rid of them.
You know, at the start of the year when we did our pre-season preview, I tipped the West Tigers to come last, and I've had an egg on my face all year. They've played well above where they should be. The last few weeks have been disappointing. This is the first game I've watched them and thought, oh man, like that's a wooden spoon sort of performance they've put in. They're not going to get the wooden spoon. They're too far ahead at this stage of, say, the Bulldogs and the Broncos and that. But they put on that performance on the weekend, and it was shocking how bad they were. It was, and it's sad to see. And it's the first time I sort of have watched Benji Marshall, and Benji hasn't been playing great over the last 3 weeks. It's the first time I watched Benji Marshall and have actually thought to myself, I think that it might be time. I think he could probably go to another club and perform well. But I think in this situation, I think the Tigers need a change, and I don't think it does Benji anything to be playing like this in this team.
No, I think Benji to go well at probably the Titans next year, the forward pack they're going to have. It might be something that would help a young half there. He wouldn't be a bad idea for one season at the Bulldogs either, or the Warriors. Just to help some young players get a bit of experience next to someone like him. Because he's going to offer a lot of more experience than just on the field stuff too. It's going to be off the field. He's going to be very handy with as well. Yeah. And he's one of those players that doesn't matter which club he goes to, there'll be a lot of good, positive publicity behind it as well. And I think if he went to the Warriors for 1 year, it'd be like, you see all the stories, Benji comes home, that sort of thing. But the Tigers have got a rough trot home. So this weekend is probably the last of their, it is the last of their soft game, so to speak. And they play the Bulldogs.
And you'd have to tip the Bulldogs, hey?
You can't trust them. But after that, how's this for a run home? Round 15, Roosters. Round 16, Penrith. Round 17, Manly at Manly. Round 18, South. Round 19, Melbourne. Round 20, Parramatta.
Holy shit. Man, even the worst, they're fighting for their finals places.
Yeah, and some of them are already secured.
Yeah.
But I said after they lost to the Warriors last week, Tigers are not going to finish ninth this year. And I know people thought I was joking around, and part of it was joking around because, Tigers always finish ninth. But the key to finishing ninth is being able to pick up a win like every second week or so.
Yeah.
They're not getting that from this run home.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Bulldogs. But after that, it's 6 losses. Unless they can pull out maybe a win against Manly and South. They're two teams that they've had a little bit of wood on over recent times.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be enough. I can't see them. If they finish 10th, they'll have achieved well, I think, at this rate.
Yeah, and that's where they sit right now, 10th spot. The Warriors are the same competition points as them and getting better. The more players they lose, the Warriors are getting better, weirdly. The Titans are getting better as well, and they're only 1 win behind them. So if they could hold on to 10th place, it would be a really good effort by them. But yeah, that's a really terrible run for them coming home. And man, if they didn't win another game this season, it wouldn't be shocking. Like, Manly's going to be difficult. Manly's got to win that game. If they want to be in the finals, Manly's sitting in 9th place right now. The Sharks are going pretty well. I think the Knights have secured their place in the final. I think that they are what they are at this stage. I've underrated them, obviously. But the Rabbitohs, Sharks, and Manly, only 2 of them 3 are going to get in. And so Manly has to win those games that they should win at this stage.
Yeah, Sharks have got a mixed draw run home. Like they've got the Titans this weekend. And then Penrith, then Cowboys, then Knights, then Warriors, then Roosters, then Canberra. And so it sort of goes, hard, soft, hard, soft, hard, soft.
That's what she said.
I was waiting for that one. As far as everyone at home goes. And that sort of mixed form line does lend itself to a few random wins here and there, which I think is going to be enough for them to hold on to a finals place.
Yeah, and look, I'm shocked by it. I didn't think they'd make the finals.
I think I must be one of the few people who didn't think that the Sharks would finish with a wooden spoon this year. A lot of people had them getting the spoon. I was like, you know what? I don't think so.
I had them right down. I tell you what, they need to not play Matt Moylan. There was a one point there where Moses gets the ball on a break, and Moylan's there, and Sean Johnson was way behind Moylan, ended up making a try-saving tackle, but Moylan just jogged, didn't even put on the speed at all. I was thinking, man, they need to get rid of him. He'll look good in Tigers colours next year, Matt Moylan.
I'm confident the Bulldogs will sign him.
You reckon?
Yeah. Because the Tigers will sign Foran.
Well, he would be a Tigers signing, wouldn't he?
He would. They'll probably sign Michael Leisha as well in a package deal.
They'll talk to Brandon Smith, right?
Yeah.
Go in the paper and say could be $1 million player, and then they'll sign Jake Friend. Oh
no, Jake Friend's played Test football for Australia. They don't sign those players.
Oh, don't they?
No. They'll sign Andrew McCulloch.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. No, or they'll say no, our hookers are set. We're going with Little and Walters. We're confident they can play more than 3 weeks without getting injured for the rest of
the last former Test player for Australia that the Tigers bought was Robbie Farah when they brought him back from South.
Jeez. That's right.
I challenge anyone, because I'm not going to look it up, I challenge anyone to name the Test player they had before that who was an Australian Test player, who they brought to the club prior to Farah coming back.
Is it Terry Hill?
It probably is.
And John Hopewadi?
I generally don't know. I've not bothered to look at it.
Yeah. I can't think of anyone else. Pat Richards was an Irish international. And his kickoffs, man. His kickoffs.
But we're talking Australia here.
Okay. But he's as Australian as you and me.
No, he's Irish.
I know, but he's Australian as you and me.
No Irish in my blood. It's all mad Scotsman. If I know you'd probably have... what would roll you up? Oh, you'd be Welsh.
Oh, fuck that, man. You know how you can tell I'm not Welsh? I've actually got some plus sides to me. Fucking Wales.
So the way I know that you're not Welsh is you don't have any F, Y's and D's in your name.
Yeah. It's like somebody got a bunch of Scrabble tiles and threw them across the room and said, whatever you pick them up as, that's my name. But they're wonderful players. The Welsh players are just, I don't know where they are. They're wonderful, though. Can we talk about Nathan Brown?
Yes, please.
I've been stewing on this one. He did an interview on NRL.com. Did you read it?
Is this the one we talked about who would make a great signing for the club?
Amongst other things.
Okay, all I heard was that one. So let me get that one out of the way. He came out and said essentially that Jack de Belin would be a great signing for the Warriors. And I thought, man, you haven't even been in the club for 5 minutes and you're already creating bad headlines for it. Good work, Nathan.
Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful move. He talked himself up as a coach, talked up his Super League career, said that the best years were ahead of him, said that he's got good experience and stuff. And
it sounds like he's trying to sell a used car.
It really did. There was something about it. And it was funny because the Warriors offered this job to Todd Payton and Todd Payton said no. And it felt like about 3 days later, they had signed Nathan Brown. Well, Brown was on Fox Sports, and Brown basically said that he considered the role. Talked earlier in the year, talked about it with his wife, said, "No, not going to go for it." And then after Todd Payton turned it down, he talked to his wife again and said, "You know what? Maybe I should go for that job." calls up his manager, says, get me the phone number of the owner. Talks to the owner. 60 minutes later, he's the coach. I shit you not. And it felt like it. It felt like that's what happened.
Oh, man. It's such a Warriors move. Like, here they are. And the thing is, they doubled down because they didn't just settle for Nathan Brown as coach. They got that old whinging turd on there, Phil Gould, to be their director of whatever it is, whinging.
And he's going to move to New Zealand? No. So he's going to do this by fucking email, I guess.
Text message.
Yeah. So what the fuck is he actually doing?
Oh, I just thought, man. I reckon I can see what's happened. He's talked, because Mr. Gould has had an opportunity to talk about everything he's done so brilliantly and not talk about the things he's done badly, because that's not what he's going to do. Pretty much anyone that's in a rugby league club who doesn't have a brain says, "Oh, Phil Gould's are really, really good at setting up juniors, and he's got a real brain for the game, and he can make us successful." And I'm not going to say that that's not entirely true. There's obviously some truth to it. But just because you can make it work at one club where there's a ton of juniors to work with, doesn't mean you can do it at every club. And
the thing
I don't
is,
know.
People talked about the way that he got the Panthers juniors going, right? And the analogy I've used is that he walked up to a gold mine with a pickaxe and started chipping away at the gold. And people said, man, he's producing gold. It's like, yeah, it was always fucking there. The club had just put the pickaxes away for a few years. So for some weird reason. And look, Phil Gould come in and he did a lot of things the Panthers needed done. And he was given free rein to do them, and he did them, and I'm grateful for that. But to say that he was the reason why the Panthers are producing juniors again, I'm sorry. They didn't stop producing juniors. They had stopped using them, weirdly enough. And this is the Penrith Panthers. And it's been the Penrith Panthers going back to the mid-'80s they've produced these players. It's, I don't know what miracle he's supposed to do for them. And then some of these quotes by Nathan Brown I thought were outrageous. So I've got to read some of them, right? Well,
before you get to that, can I just say one last thing about Phil Gould, based on a comment you just made about him walking up to a gold mine?
Yeah.
That's basically his career as a coach. And this is going to be controversial because he did have a good coaching career. He won almost 60% of his games.
Yeah.
But he took over as coach of the Bulldogs for his first coaching gig only a few years after they won the premiership. And they still had a core of a really strong team. Won a premiership with them. They had a poor year in 1989. He left them to go to a Penrith side that were clearly on the up.
Yeah.
And they made two grand finals in a row. Yeah, they were set. He didn't have to do any real work there. They won two premierships in a row. And then just as they were on the downside, and they were starting to go down in 1993-94, he ditched them and went to the Roosters, who were starting to build up and come good again. And he carried them through until the 90s. He didn't win a premiership with them, but he built them up.
Yeah, and the thing was, too, when he went to the Roosters, that was about the time Super League hit.
That's right.
And he got an open checkbook, and he took Matt Singh and Brad Fittler with him, which were like, and just went from there.
Yeah. And so a lot of people say that he brought a lot of success to those clubs, but if you look at the way those clubs were trending before he got to them, they were either trending up or they were already set. The Roosters were trending up. People don't remember, in 1990-91, they were very close to being the Wooden Spooners, and they weren't much better the 2 years after that. And then he brings across Fittler and Singh. Might have been a few others. Nigel Gaffey, I think, was another one. But he brought across a few of these players, and they started to become successful.
Yeah.
He may have had a bit to do with it, but they were already on the improve at that stage. And same with Penrith. I mean, Penrith were growing immensely during the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
Everyone could see they were building up to something really strong. He jumped at the right time. Every time he moved clubs, he always jumped to the right club at the right time.
And that's a good thing. Like that's
a good thing. It's a smart thing. But at the same time, He wasn't necessarily leaving a club in a better position when he did leave it.
No.
And I think that's more of a measure of a coach.
Yeah, and look, you could say that he left Penrith in his role as a general manager in a very strong position. And he did. He changed a lot of things. The Panthers were a rotten club. They had nothing going for them when he turned up. And he did. He turned a lot of that around off the field. But I think this narrative that's been going on of, well, he got their juniors producing players again. It's like that never stopped. It was just that Panthers stopped using them, and I don't know why they did. It makes no sense to me because it shows how poorly the run the club was at that time, where you got this natural resource and your youngsters who you're going to be paying unders until they get big offers elsewhere, and for some reason they weren't paying those players and they were bringing in some real shit players from other clubs. What do you do? If he's going to go over and fix the juniors, I want him to be there. If somebody had said he's going to fix the Penrith Panthers juniors up, but he's going to live in North Queensland, I would have been saying, are you fucking serious? What are we doing here, man? And that's what he's basically going to do. Like, he kind of has to move to New Zealand. Because if he doesn't do that, well, then he's literally emailing the job in.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then fuck, I want to apply for a job at the Warriors.
I reckon, hey, I could do it. I'd even do it over Skype.
There's an upgrade.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go one up on you. I'll even buy a webcam.
Oh, shit.
Mate, I'm committed.
Yeah. I'm not that committed. But
and you know what? I'll do it at a fraction of the cost that Feel Good does it at. That fraction might be 999 1,000ths, but it'll be cheaper.
Can we talk about the fact that this year, Phil Gould decided that he was going to fix the referees, and then he was going to fix the NRL, and then he was going to be a player agent, and now he's going to fix the Warriors? Like, can we pick one?
You know what? I think the fact that he's been hired by the Warriors should actually rule him out of having anything to do at NRL headquarters, which is a good thing.
That's a good point. Well, it'd have to. He couldn't do that job, and he definitely couldn't be a player agent.
No, but geez, that'd be amazing. I'd love to see him in this is the one thing where I think Phil Gould would be fantastic. I'd love to see him in a bidding war with Isaac Moses.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the slander that Gould would dish out on Moses online, and it'd be glorious. And I'd see that, you know what, if Gould went and did that, I'd give him a thumbs up. I'd apologise for everything I've ever said about him that was negative.
The other thing is too, if you decide Nathan Brown is the guy that's going to do the job as a coach, why do you need Phil Gould? Because if Brown is your head coach and he's the right guy for the job, why do you need another dude to do part of his job? And now the thing about when the Panthers got Phil Gould, they got him in to do a lot of the back end stuff at the club. And then he signed the coaches. He was in charge of signing the coaches. It wasn't like they said, let's sign Ivan Cleary and then bring Phil Gould in to do other shit. And it got to a point where Ivan Cleary's like, man, it's time for us to move forward. And Phil Gould even said it himself. Ivan's a coach. He doesn't need me anymore. I'm going. Why do you need to start this situation where you bring in Nathan Brown? You're like, yeah, he's the guy for the job, but I don't think he can do the whole job.
Maybe there's a fear that Nathan Brown might get tired.
There's that possibility. I tell you what, Ivan Cleary looks refreshed.
Yeah. I wonder how long before he starts getting tired.
I bet it won't be for a very long time, hey?
I'll give him another 18 months.
Okay, some of these quotes by Nathan Brown.
Yeah,
okay.
Hit me with them.
Okay, so he asked if he felt he was now a better coach or a different coach after the lessons he learned at the Dragons and Knights. This is what he said. I've coached now for a long time. Doesn't matter if it's been in the NRL or England. The great thing is the more you coach, the more experience you get. Nothing beats experience. It's one thing to have knowledge, but it's another thing to have experience and know how to use it. I've learned lessons in football and in life with previous jobs. You're always learning. At St Helens, I was fortunate enough to win a grand final, and at the And at 47 years of age, I've been fortunate enough to have a number of CEOs and owners that back me and support me. I feel I'm not even in my prime yet. Which is like, are you fucking serious, dude? You coached the Dragons with a really good side that went on to win a premiership after you left under Wayne Bennett. And the one thing you're known for is slapping Trent Barrett, which, granted, I put that up there with the grand final victory. But still, not real good look. And then he goes to the Knights, and the one good thing you can say is, well, he was fucking good at losing games. And Adam O'Brien goes in there this year with basically the exact same roster. I can't think of any players he actually added to that roster that were any good. And look at where the Knights are now. Like, I don't know why he signed Nathan Brown. I think he's a terrible coach.
Let's just look at that one statement about experience, shall we?
Okay.
There's been 38 NRL coaches since 1908 who have coached 185 games or more. Mm-hmm. Nathan Brown's one of them.
Yep.
Which out of all of those 38 coaches do you think has the lowest win percentage?
For plus 180 what games?
185 games plus.
Okay, plus 100. I would say, oh man, I would have to put Matthew Elliott in there.
Matthew Elliott won 45.7% of his games, but he doesn't have the lowest. He doesn't even have the second lowest.
Oh, wow. Man, this is a difficult one.
Neil Henry has the second lowest, 43.5.
I was just about to say Neil Henry, because he went to some teams that were struggling, unfortunately.
Third last was Don Ferner at 44.5.
That's surprising. Is it Nathan Brown?
It is Nathan Brown, 42.4%.
And the thing about it too is it's not like the sample size is big, man. Like he's done 244 first grade games as a coach, something like that.
245, yeah.
245. That's a career. Like it's not like we're learning what Nathan Brown is as a coach. He's had a coaching career already.
There's only 24 coaches that have been in the game before him that have coached more.
Yeah.
That's not many.
Yeah. But he hasn't hit his prime yet. Holy shit, Matthew Elliott's a better coach.
Yep. And he had coached more games too, so he had more opportunity to make his record worse. He still was better. And that's just his NRL record. That's not including the stuff in England, which would have bumped it up higher. That's just his NRL record.
Yeah. See, the thing, and you and me have talked about this, Super League coaching, you have to write that off. And it sucks, man. Because it's if you're a person that has been there on grand final day in Super League and you have held the trophy up and the confetti's rained down on you, that's an experience you have. But unfortunately, we have learned time and time again that you can be an absolutely atrocious coach and still have that moment. So you have to write that off.
Although, can we just say that, and this goes against the narrative that we've been setting here, but if you've been able to coach St. Helens in the last 25 years and win a trophy, that is something that needs to be noted given how often St. Helens has choked in those events.
True, but if you go through and look at their premiership winning coaches at St. Helens,
that's a fair point.
Yeah,
but they've had a few good coaches there as well. You know, Roy Simmons. Never forget Royce.
Mick Potter,
absolute champion.
He coached them. They didn't like Mick Potter, hey? They fucking hated Mick Potter. And I remember I think it was Mick Potter, they hated him, and then they wanted Kieran Cunningham to come in as the coach, and Kieran Cunningham got the job. And he was so bad. He was so bad as a coach that when I've said before, you never sign a legend as your coach because it always ends in tears and you kind of, it hurts them.
Yeah.
It devastated the way that St. Helens fans looked at Kieran Cunningham. And it was kind of sad. Like, I wasn't Kieran Cunningham's biggest fan, but he was like atrocious He was like one of the worst coaches ever in the club's entire history.
Yeah, it was legacy destroying.
It really was. It's kind of impressive. Like you look at like Brian Noble was winning everything over there. Terrible coach. McDermott is a fucking atrocious coach. He won heaps over there. What's the dude that's at St George now doing their recruitment? Millwood. He was a world beater at St Helens. He won everything over there. Come over here and was one of the worst coaches. I think if you go by the stats, one of the worst coaches in the history of NRL football, from memory.
Well, look.
Ian Millwood.
Yeah, he's he only coached 14 games, but he won 14.3%.
Yeah, see, I've looked this shit up.
There's only a handful. John O'Neill won 13.6. Tanner Courtney 12.5. Ken Gentle, who coached South in the 90s and atrocious, he won 12.5. Nat Silcock 11.1 with Ken Slattery. Grant Bell 9.1%. Bert Holcroft 8.3%. And Eric Lewis had one win from 14 games at 7.1%. There's a handful of assistant coaches who only coached like 10 games or less and never won.
I was going to say, where is Steve Georgalis on that list? Because Steve Georgalis has taken over two atrocious situations at two clubs that were going absolutely nowhere and maybe were at the worst position they've ever been in their history.
He's at 33.3%.
There you go.
He's equal with Danny Badeiras. Dean Pay.
Yep.
And he's just a tick behind Tommy Raudonikis.
Wow, poor Tommy.
He's currently ahead of Justin Holbrook, though.
Yeah, but Justin Holbrook, the jury's out for me. He's got them. He's turning them around.
He's Justin Holbrook is ahead of Garth Brennan. Yeah. I made a tweet today about Garth Brennan.
What did you say?
Well, I said Justin Holbrook today is showing why Matty John should never ever be listened to ever again.
Yeah.
Because he's taken basically the same squad.
Yeah.
And already achieved better with them this year before the season's ended than what Garth Brennan did last year. And the year before.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, like earlier this year, that Titans team, you watch them under Holbrook and you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. This is going to end really badly. And if he can salvage something out of it, it will be a minor miracle.
Well, what we saw was he was trialling different ideas, different structures, trialling different players. He wasn't afraid to mix players up, move them around, try them in different areas, give them a proper run at it for 1 or 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think he's starting to find a decent combination in the spine.
Yeah.
He's starting to get a few decent, depth players for next year as well. He's definitely assembled a good pack for next year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So that's what's been the good thing about it. He hasn't been afraid to mix things up and try different things, which is really something that coaches like Anthony Seibold should have been trying to do.
Yeah, but Seibold was, to be fair to Seibold, I think he's finally settled on a really good combination of wingers for that Broncos team. I think he finally found the guys.
Yeah. Now, there has been a bit of news about Seibold, and that is he's had some sort of family emergency, and because of that, he had to breach the NRL biosecurity measures, and he's not going to be a coach for the next 2 weeks.
I don't know what happened. Nothing's come out that I've seen, and it's apparently an emergency with his family, so you've got to feel very sorry for him. I actually watched the press conference he was in the other night. He didn't come across as somebody that had some emergency going on, but it might have happened after that. But you've got to wonder if the Broncos, by some miracle, have 2 weeks where they kick on and play great footy, whether Seibold will actually come back. The other thing that happened was Pangai Jr. is also into a 24-day isolation because he went to the opening of a barbershop, which... and then that barbershop was raided by the police because it was owned by a bikie gang, apparently, which is
the Mongols, wasn't it?
Yeah. So,
genius.
Yeah, Man, that must be a nice barbershop. Can you imagine turning up to the opening of a barbershop? It would want to be a bloody good barbershop, so it must have been anyway.
The thing that got me about that was Pangai Jr. doesn't have much hair on his head, and I mean, why would he go along there given the penchant that players have at the moment for really bad mullets?
See, here's why I think he might be one of those dudes that likes to keep themselves in check like that. You know, it's like when you go to manscaped.com, put in the code NRL, get 20% off. Some people like to keep everything in match ready condition, and maybe he is the same with the hair on his head.
Would you want a biker to do that?
Well, my understanding was they only owned it. Like,
okay, they weren't actually doing the hairdressing.
I don't know. But then, you know, the other thing that happened at the Broncos was that Darius Boyd stepped down from the leadership group at the Broncos, and then 30 seconds later, everyone went, wait a minute, the Broncos have a leadership group? Since when? So that was an interesting one, and it was funny seeing the media sort of, you know, arcing up about that and saying, oh, what does this mean? And it's like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, come back to me when you can make a tackle, Darius.
Yeah, it means everything. I must admit, he has looked better at fullback. And I think he's playing better out of spite.
You reckon?
But you know what? If that's what it takes to make him play better, then fuck it, let him go for it. Because he has looked better.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be difficult, would it?
Wouldn't be difficult, no. But his touches in attack have looked more useful. The team looks a bit better balanced with him at fullback. The rest of the side is just a mess, though. Their halves, they're just lost. There's no direction. There's no leadership anywhere. They're just playing stupid, dumb football. And doesn't even matter if they're in the game with 20 minutes to go. You just know they're going to choke and lose it and throw it away. And that's what's been happening the last few weeks.
Yeah, too many lazy plays as well in defence. Like, their defence is just very, very lazy. I saw a try that was scored against them on the weekend, and someone ran straight through Matt Lodge like he was just in an ajar door. Yeah. How dare you? It's like they charged through him. It was like someone had knocked a door off its hinges.
Boom. That thing wasn't even latched.
Oh, no. Like, man.
They've got Canberra this week.
Canberra might play themselves into form.
That's down in Canberra.
Oh, God, can you imagine how fucking cold it's going to be down there? You know, we had rain up at Blackheath in Sydney. So it was raining and it was freezing fucking cold. And I saw down in Canberra all of the poor cunts that have to live down there. They were jumping up and down because Lake George was starting to fill up. Because, you know, you live in Canberra, you got to take any win you can get. You start going, oh, fucking lake that's an hour up the road's filling up. Isn't it beautiful down here? Is you sit on top of the heater to try and not get frostbite. So, it'll be nice for them.
I grew up near the mountains, okay? And I went to school a few times in the snow. But Canberra's the only place I've ever been to where as soon as the wind blows in wintertime, it blows ice cold to your bones.
Canberra?
I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Christchurch in the middle of winter.
Yep. And
it's bloody cold there. Canberra, though, that wind is ice cold to your bone. It chills you to your soul.
Yeah. Canberra's the first place I saw snow on mountains, and I was like, that's not snow on mountains. I know it looks like it, but we live in fucking Australia. And it was snow on mountains. And then it was the first place I saw snow when I was in England. When I went over to England when I was 6, globetrotter, you know. And I saw snow, but it sort of melted when it hit the ground. But when I was in Canberra, I went down there, and there's this little place that got a bit of snow, and I actually was walking on the snow, and it was crunching under my feet, and I was like just fascinated by it. So that's the most snow I've ever actually been around. Canberra, don't go there.
Yeah. There's not much else going on, I guess. Wasn't there someone else who got Oh yeah, Paul Vaughan also has to miss 2 weeks because he went to a restaurant and used a fake name, which is brilliant.
Yeah, he apparently, I heard that he went for bit of a morning exercise, a bit of a morning jog, and then he went for a coffee after that. So yeah, and Wayne Bennett, who set up the rules for the NRL bubble and then broke them to have a meal with his missus, and then his missus was blowing up at Ben Eichen on Instagram, which is, I always love it when the wives and girlfriends jump on Instagram and start having a say. I had to censor myself then.
That was fantastic because I actually made a tweet about that at the time, and I said, Wayne Bennett has he's breached the COVID protocols. He was last spotted crossing the New South Wales Queensland border, and he was found camping in Anthony Seibold's mind.
That's a good one. I like that. I actually put up a poll and said that on Twitter, on my Twitter feed, and said, do you want to hear from players' wives and girlfriends ranting on Instagram? And I haven't looked at. I should look at what the results are so far.
Yeah, check it out. I remember having Adam Blair's missus have a go at me a few years back after I called him out for being crap in one game.
Oh, really? What'd she say?
Oh, I can't remember. I didn't care at the time.
Yeah, no one cares about her. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, Andrew.
I think it was the game where he was playing for the Warriors down here. It might have even been last year.
Yeah.
And he made like one hit up for the entire game. It was like the second hit up of the match.
Yeah.
It made one hit up 4 meters, and that was it for the game. The rest was just doing defense.
I remember that.
All I did was point out the stats going, yeah, well done, Adam. And she had a go at me about something. I just went, whatever.
I had a player's undisclosed wife or girlfriend from over in England get in touch with me about some of the financial situations that were going on at a club once, and I wrote about it on my website. And I got a lot of information that was given to me in that regard, which was interesting. That's why I've always got the back of them players that don't get paid. It's like disgusting to me.
Mate, that almost sounds like journalism work.
How fucking dare you call me?
Hey, you got inside information, mate. You were an insider.
No.
Yeah, you had an inside source.
I had an information.
You and me, we're not too different, you and me now.
Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Okay, this I put up a poll and it said, do you want to hear from wives and girlfriends of NRL players and officials via Instagram rants? There's been 50 votes so far. There's still 6 days. 82% said they need to be silent. I love the way I put that. And 18% said I like to hear from them. So, yeah.
Wow. That number's way too high.
Way too high. I always feel like if you're a player and say you got suspended or something like that, and you're like, oh man, all this fucking media drama and stuff, and I'm trying to keep my place in the team and all this sort of stuff, and then you start fielding inquiries. Oh, we found out that your wife or girlfriend has said something on Instagram and she's called the coach a prick. What do you have to say about it? Wouldn't you just be like, oh, what are you doing?
I'd just be saying, who cares?
Would ya?
Yeah, she can call him whatever she wants.
You would say that. You would say that in the media.
Yeah, I'd say she can call him whatever else she wants. She's not hired by the club.
I would say in the media, I would say my wonderful wife is the light of my life, and everything that she says I agree with.
Well, that's basically what I'm saying. She can say what she wants.
Is that why you're blinking like that guy that was caught in the Korean War?
That's the one.
Yeah, he was blinking SOS, and he was blinking torture in Morse code.
That's correct. In other news, completely unrelated to rugby league, Max Verstappen just won the Grand Prix in Silverstone.
Nice, the 75th anniversary Grand Prix they were calling it.
Yeah, the one last week that they had at Silverstone was not the 75th anniversary one. This one was.
Yeah, that's and it didn't confuse me at all when I saw that this one was the 75th one. So it's that was always good.
For some weird reason, because I had 2 races at at Austria this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to back. For some reason, they've decided that they do not want to have the same name for a Grand Prix in a year.
Yeah.
So you can't have the Austrian Grand Prix twice over. So they had to give the other one a second one and some weird name instead. I say weird. I couldn't pronounce it, and I'm ignorant. So it was probably something rather important and useful. And I apologise to the people of Austria if I've upset them. Not that any of them are listening, but there you go.
Listen, I've heard there's been points in history where some Austrians have upset the rest of the world. So you got to take one on the chin sometimes, Austria.
We've got a fan by the name of Carsten Brummer who we could probably ask to fill us in on those details later on.
No, we can't do that.
What could go wrong?
Carsten, why we can't do that.
If you're listening, Carsten, mate, we love your work.
Yeah, we've got to get him on again, hey?
Yeah, talk about the French Rugby League. Yeah, not much else has been going on. What else is there going on? Have we got an email we can read out?
Oh, we got a bunch of emails. Okay, let me fire up I'll read the emails that we got through fergunthefreak.com. We'll do those as soon as the website wants to load up.
I wouldn't say it's the website. It'd be your technology. The website's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, the website is super quick. It's just this fucking computer won't load it up.
Yeah, because let's be honest. I mean, people don't know this, but Freaky's computer was one of the first supercomputers ever built back in the 50s.
The 50s. Sometimes it loads like it, let me tell you. Yeah, the website will not load for me. Shit. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I see. Website's not going to let you down.
Yeah. Come on, fergunthefreak.com. Come on. We count on you, bruh.
Well, I can tell you that we've not had any more comments. Come on, people.
You know what we need people to start doing is letting their friends know that there's new episodes out there by retweeting and sharing posts when we put them out there. I'm not going to say that people have slackened off in that area, but I'm going to say people have slackened off in that area. Hey?
Yeah, they have. They have slackened off.
Super, super slackened off. So, yeah, anytime we put out an episode, just give it a retweet or something, because we got to boost them numbers, man. It's the more the merrier, you know. I'm almost there. I've just pressed on the feedback button.
I have done something that could very, very quickly take this episode from being an hour and a half long to possibly 3.5 hours long.
Okay. Because
I've just tuned into the Wakefield versus Wigan Super League game.
Oh, really? Have you got it on?
Yeah. Okay. Wigan's up 6-2 after 20 minutes.
Remember I was telling you about a player
that
I got information about?
Yeah.
He was just on the screen.
Ah, right. He looks like he's been having a good feed over the
don't say
isolation.
Who it is. No. Okay.
It looks like I was going to say too, the English players haven't been spared from the horrible haircuts either. David Fafita was just on the screen.
Yep.
And man, someone's gone at his hair with a friggin' lawnmower.
Oh wow, yeah, that's one sweet mullet.
Anyway, you got an email.
Why are Wigan wearing yellow? Why are Wigan dressed like Warrington?
All Leeds. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, what the fuck? Okay, let's go back to our emails. Okay, now I'm just going to read them just out as we get them. This one is from Nui Ash, and he says, Could you ever see the NRL using the Super League like a feeder competition? I'm imagining something like what has started to happen in the NBA, where a few teams have been sending hot young prospects out there to play in the NBL against men rather than play college ball against boys to get experience and hardness. And man, is this sounding sexy?
Yeah, it is a little.
It's like why they send the hot boys down there to get some hardness and experience. Young players could get compensated. Well playing Super League, alleviate some of the financial strain NRL clubs have in keeping youth talent, and get battle hardened before coming back to playing the NRL. Cheers. What do you reckon about that one?
It's not a bad idea. I think the only problem I've got with this is who pays for them. Because I wouldn't want these players going over to England and being on the NRL books, because it limits what an NRL club can do player-wise and talent-wise.
Yeah.
And as much as we like to be... Oh, that bloke thinks he's a dickhead. As much as we like to, deride the current state of the English game, and that's not without justification.
Yeah.
I think what the English game needs is English players playing it. I think if you take a whole heap of Aussies over there and make it more Australian than what it currently is, then there's no point having the English Rugby League. And we do need England to have a strong Rugby League competition full of English players if we're going to get the European countries up and get the game growing globally. And that's just a fact. And putting a bunch of Aussies over there and having it as a secondary Aussie competition, because that's what that would become if we did that, would deny England from having any genuine talent come through.
Yeah, I think that you also get a situation where, like, say, and I look at it from the Panthers situation where they've got a bunch of good 5/8s. They've got Burton, they've got Laurie, who played on the weekend, and you've got someone like Aikens at fullback. What do you want from getting that experience? Are you giving them that experience with the idea of bringing them back and they will start in your first grade team? Because that's what it would have to be. Otherwise, you're really just giving them experience for somebody else to get them for,
That's right. And that's
like,
the thing.
I don't think it's a bad idea, but I think it'd have to be really... It'd have to have some very strict rules in place, and I could only see a couple of teams. Like, I think it might be a good idea for the Roosters to set up something like that, because then they could put players, that they maybe have an eye on, because the Roosters don't have a junior comp, I think the way it'd be better, probably have access players they could do that with, but not too many clubs could do it, I don't think.
I think the way it'd work best is just every NRL club is affiliated with a Super League club.
Yeah.
Obviously there's more NRL clubs than Super League ones, so maybe some expansion clubs like Toulouse and Toronto and the likes that we don't know what's going on with Toronto, New York perhaps. They could be affiliated with NRL clubs as well, and that might be an option there, but I don't know. I want to see, to be honest, I want to see the game strong everywhere, and in order that to happen, England needs to be producing top quality talent, and they need to be staying in England. Yeah,
and I think that if the NRL was going to look at something like that, and they decided they weren't going to use the Australian lower grade competitions, I think it might be a better idea for them to look at a different sort of competition. So, for instance, say the Wolfpack Catalan Dragons, Toulouse, if a bunch of those clubs decided they wanted to go it themselves and maybe added a few extra, like New York, Ottawa, teams like that, I think it would be better off for NRL clubs to get involved in a situation like that where you're not so much worrying about diluting the talent in a nation's competition like England.
Agree.
Okay, Ash has sent us another one. He says, "Hey boys, as a kid I grew up around the corner from John Sattler's sister and knew the family quite well. Though owing to my young age, I didn't appreciate the gravity of John's celebrity or contribution to rugby league at the time. I'd love to hear a history episode on Sattler. Apologies if you've already done one. I'm still working my way through the back catalogue of history episodes, which isn't easy given the brutally unrelenting pace with which this podcast is unleashed." Jeez. I love the idea that we're just bludgeoning people with podcasts.
I love it. No, we haven't done an episode on John Sattler. That's something we can look at in the future. I will give you one story about John Sattler.
Yeah.
Very quick one. A lady fell onto a train track one day in Sydney, and he jumped down when he was at the station and got off the train track as the train was approaching and saved her life.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There you go.
I got a story about John Sattler. He was playing in a grand final one day, and he broke his jaw, played for 75 minutes with it, hey?
Yeah.
Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Okay. We've got a an email here from Ben from Simpsons NRL memes. We both follow him,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
he's a legend.
He's very funny, actually. I was looking at some of his memes he's putting out today. Hey, lads, love the podcast and keep up the great work. As someone who grew up in Tamworth, I wholeheartedly agree with your views on the place. Jesus may have turned water into wine, but I've seen plenty of people turn Bundy rum into a conviction. That's brilliant. Oh, shit. That's bloody brilliant. Anyway, my question is about what ways do you think International Rugby League and NRL could increase the brand awareness of rugby league internationally? Here are some of my ideas I've had. Setting up international pathways programs similar to that used by Valentine Holmes with the NFL, engaging with prominent YouTubers, podcasters to create rugby league themed content, creating highlights packages for distribution on Netflix and in other countries, have NRL teams partner with and act as mentors for teams in emerging nations, providing training programs, access to player analysis tools, social media resources, utilizing Russell Crowe in discussing rugby league on American television, which he's actually done quite a lot, creating introduction to rugby league visual media that could be mass distributed across schools in targeted countries, partnering with international tourism providers to sell tickets to NRL games as part of Australian holidays. That's a really good idea. Focusing on engagement with tertiary education providers to target international students studying in Australia to join rugby league social groups and local sports, e.g. touch football. That's a really good idea. I really like that.
I think they're all brilliant. I'll tell you one thing I think I'd like to see happen is something that the NFL has done, and they take 1 or 2 games every year over to London, I believe, and they've been doing it for a while now, and it's starting to build the profile of the game over there, and it's something that the NRL should be doing in England. In the US.
Yeah.
And don't go to outposts. Go to places where there's huge population. Make it bloody New York if you have to, or LA, and get the game over there and make it an annual thing and make it a game that matters. Don't make it an exhibition or a trial or something like that. Make it an actual premiership game that matters, or make it an Origin game if you have to. I don't care. Take something over there that matters, so that people actually, the players are actually going over there, playing for a win, and teams are going over there with a full strength side.
Mm-hmm. The way, one of the things I would do if I was the NRL, I'd look at somewhere like Austin, where they don't have an NFL team. It's a all right size city. And I think you could put on an event and it not be lost in the crowd noise because of major sporting competitions. But I liked all of his ideas. I like the idea of having like a almost like a talent scouting camp, like he said with the NFL, where they've got it for international players. I'm surprised that rugby league hasn't done that before. I think it'd mostly get rugby union players. But I think it would unearth some talent. And the countries that I think we would get a lot of talent from are African countries, actually, where I think you'd get players that instead of going through rugby union channels, they'd see it as an opportunity to get involved in a sport in Australia. And I think that we'd get a lot of talent from African countries in that regard. I don't know that you'd get many NFL players and stuff like that because it's hard to pick up the game when you physically have to change so much and you have to learn it from scratch. But I think that is a really good idea, and I'm surprised that hasn't been done before.
Yeah. I'll tell you another out-of-the-box idea, and I may have put this on the episode before, is they should link with the WWE. We've got a few former players that are now in the WWE, and they seem to be looking more at rugby league players now because they're used to the heavy clashes.
Yeah.
And their bodies are already hardened to those sort of impacts. Yeah. And a lot of these players are in their, early 20s or, late 20s, early 30s. And a lot of pro wrestlers these days are already in their 30s when they're in their prime. So these guys have already got their body hardened for it, and they can just come in and just go, they just got to learn a few of the basics, and then they start doing the other gear, and next thing you know, they can be bloody superstars over there. It could be a good way to get profile for the sport as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Even if like once a year, you just send one of the teams over to sit in the audience to go and see Daniel Vito. Is Daniel Vito one of their, like, is he on the top shows?
Yeah, and there's a former English rugby league player as well who's over there. Oh, I can't remember his name.
William Regal?
No.
I just see all the English players as William Regal.
No, there's another one. Actually, I can't remember his name, but there's another former Super League player. He only retired a few years ago.
Seamus?
No. Scotland doesn't have any rugby league players. What are you on about?
Are you scared? Seamus is Irish. How dare you?
Oh, they're all the same.
Oh, Jesus. How dare you? I've never seen a Scotsman.
They're all from the United Kingdom. What are you on about?
15 grand and fuck off when you've paid them.
They're all from the United Kingdom.
Yeah, that's true. But the Welsh are very unique.
No, I can't remember his name, but they've got 2 rugby league players over there, and I believe they had who was that former massive bloke played for Huddersfield?
Earl Crabtree.
Yeah, his old man used to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
Big Daddy something. I don't know. He's a huge boy. They've had Earl Crabtree involved with some of the WWE recruitment in the UK too, I believe, a while back. So they've got a reasonably well established link between the two industries. I'll put it that way. So I think they should definitely expand on that more and really get into it.
What if we had like some sort of double event where, like, you had an NRL game, and then after that they wheeled out like a one of the wrestling rings.
Yeah. How's about this for an idea?
Okay.
You go over to the UK and you have like let's say a test match between Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
In the rugby league, okay.
In the UK.
Sorry, in the US. And then after the test match is over, you automatically have a ticket to like WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Having some big outdoor arena thing so you can do it.
Yep.
And just have some big music event thing going on after the game so they can set up the ring and all sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Give them an hour to do that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You have this big extravaganza, Australia versus New Zealand in this big test match, and then you can have, say...
Alanis Morissette.
I was going to say, let's be modest and just say, get Metallica on for an hour.
Oh, Jesus. Who's paying for this?
And then WrestleMania. Vince McMahon will pay for it. He's got the coin.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
What is it? Vince McMahon should pay us as just ideas, man. Like, we basically sit there and we give him ideas of how to make money.
Yeah. What could go wrong? We know what we're doing. And I'll tell you what, the only downside I put in there is Daniel Vito must play for one of the 2 teams in that test match. And then he backs up and plays in he performs at WrestleMania as well.
Yeah, that would be actually... Can you imagine you play an exhibition game, even if it's a club game, and Daniel Vito plays, and then he basically walks with his gear on, tears it off, and just walks straight to the ring. That would actually be really impressive. Like, I think even wrestling fans would get off on that one.
Yeah, and then you could, once you got it established, you could then just have a rugby league game between just pro wrestlers.
Maybe we should make a pro wrestling rugby league team. Like, obviously, Triple H would be the hooker.
That is not a bad idea. Well, I was thinking you could probably make him a halfback.
Yeah.
I'd have Undertaker and Kane in the second row.
Who would be your front rows then? What about Mark
Viscera?
Henry? Who?
Have Big Show and Mark Henry in the front row.
Oh, yeah.
Viscera was this bloke who's about 400 pounds.
Oh, is he the giant? And he used to wear like this black sort of like Lorna Jane sort of thing.
I think so.
And he had white eyes. Like, yeah.
Actually, the hooker should be Val Venus.
Yeah. What about what was his name? Gold something.
Goldberg.
No, not Goldberg. Oh, what was his name?
He can be Locke anyway.
Yeah, he used to dress up in gold paint.
Oh, Gold Dust.
Gold Dust. He could be the hooker.
Oh boy. This is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I want to watch this match.
Absolutely.
Who else have we got? Who would be a 5'8"?
I don't know, you got to put Stone Cold Steve Austin in there, I think.
Yeah, and he's going to be less injury prone than Kieran Foran.
That's true. Have Kurt Angle and The Rock in the centres.
Yeah, I like that. Who are your wingers?
Oh, you're going to need some fast guys there. Some of the lighter fellas.
Rey Mysterio Jr.
There you go. And Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, okay, yep, I like that. And have we got a fullback yet?
We haven't got a fullback. Who do you have a fullback?
Who would be fullback?
Bret Hart.
The Hitman Hart. Isn't he about 70?
Yeah, but we're looking at these guys when they're in their prime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about Randy Savage?
I'd put him as the impact player off the bench. Bring him on after half an hour and he can just rip through people.
I tell you what, I don't want to tell people how many times in a year I wake up and just decide to talk like Randy Savage to myself as I'm making a coffee, you know.
Why not?
You got to work up to it though. You got to you got to work up, and I reckon about 2 or 3 minutes in, then you've got it. Then you're in the zone.
There you go. Tell you what, if people want to add to this team, maybe supply a team of current wrestlers.
Yeah, current wrestlers, because
otherwise take on our all-star team.
You'd have to because then you'd have Hulk Hogan in there and Andre the Giant. You know, we don't want to go back too far.
No. It's got to be blokes who can still walk.
Yeah, and that aren't dead. So basically,
that's cut the field down a bit.
You're limiting yourself to everyone under 40 that's wrestled.
Pretty much, and those who have got a podcast in wrestling.
Yeah. Okay, we got another one. We got an email here from Kuji, who's actually one of my Patreons. He's one of my big Patreon supporters. He says, "Hi, fellas. I mentioned to Freaky in a previous email that I'm a returning fan after many years away from the game. One thing that has puzzled me is that the position numbering for the forwards is different from when I played as a kid. At the time, it was in reverse order, as in lock 8, second rowers 9, 10, prop 11 and 13, and hooker 12. From the little I have been able to find on the topic, it seems that my recollections are a bit at odds with the usual, because it was only a really short time in the game that the numbers changed. Maybe it was only in Queensland too. Is that right? I would love to hear you guys chat a bit about this sometime. Love the show. Keep on keeping on, and keep on manscaping as well, please." Kuji Tim. So thank you for that one, Kuji.
I believe the numbering changed in 1989 or 1990.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I feel like I would have said it was a couple of years before that, actually. But you're the historian. You'd know better than me.
I got a feeling it was around there. It wasn't. It was definitely very late 80s.
Yeah, because it was the international numbering that did we go to, or we went away from?
I think.
Did the
no? We went away from it, so everyone else had to follow our suit, follow our lead.
Yeah,
because I think it was around there somewhere.
They'll still, even a few years ago, they were naming the New South Wales teams, and they had their current numbering, but then they would get to the forward pack and list it backwards, which, quite honestly, is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. I think it was to try and step away from the numbering being too similar to rugby union.
All right.
I'm not sure of the reason behind it. To be honest, I've been curious but never bothered to look into it.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed like something that wasn't going to be that much of a talking point. Little did I know that we'd get asked that on the podcast, but there you go.
I know. It's because you see, like, some of the games, like Paul Vaughton and he would wear a number 9 jersey, I believe it would be, and it was like, why is he wearing the number 9 jersey? He's not a hooker.
Yeah, well, you'd see Roy Simmons wearing 12.
Yeah. Interesting.
In the early days, like in the 1920s, and again sometimes in the 40s, teams would only name one centre, and they'd have 2 5/8s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's fun to record.
Do you? Yeah, I bet that's fucking terrible for your website. Do you remember in our lifetime, because we're both in our late 20s, people talking about who should be selected as the inside and outside centres for like Origin and stuff like that?
Never used to get called that.
I've heard people talk about that in my lifetime.
I always, in my memory, there's always left and right.
Yeah. I don't understand why they would have been talking about it like that.
And how can you call them inside and outside? That only applies if you're, I assume, right-handed.
Well, yeah, exactly. Even when I would hear it, it would be like, what is this person talking about? But they would talk about that. It's really weird. Another email. This is going back to July 27th. We missed a few emails.
It's good to know we're keeping on top of these.
Yeah. Nui Ash, once again, gave us this one. He said the Brisbane Turnstile's biggest problem is clearly their non-existent defence. What can Paul Green do to fix this when he takes over as coach next season? Is there an issue with the defensive coaching staff?
The biggest problem with the Broncos' defence, as I see it, is they do not communicate. So it's just a bunch of blokes doing what they think is the right thing. They're not working as a team. So you'll see more often than not in the Broncos' defence, especially late in games and on the edges of the ruck, just one random player will just charge up to try and shut down the play, and no one goes with him. And if he doesn't make that tackle, bang, there's a gap, try gets scored. Yeah. And more often than not, that's what's been happening. There's no communication. That's the biggest factor.
And it seems to be something that Seabold has had through the entire thing, where there's like no real direction on what lineup he wants, no real direction on, are we going with younger players or are we going with older players? No real direction on, like, look at Anthony Milford. He's been moved around all over the place, now dropped. He's played around with so many parts of this team, and it's like, what are we doing defensively here while all of this is going on? What is our style of defence? How are we working as a team in one unit? And, it's kind of all comes back to, I think, the overall message that the team is getting is, it feels like they're not getting messages. It's just, it's like they're just doing, what they're doing week by week. There's no real big plan in place.
Yep, that's pretty much it. They're just going through the motions.
Here's another one by Nui Ash. I don't know if we answered this one before, but he says, what genuine role do you think Mr. Philip Ronald Gould played in getting the Panthers into the position they currently find themselves in? Despite the volumes of sanctimonious, vapid drivel that spill from his mouth, it seems to me that some of the things he bangs on about in terms of the Panthers' youth development and pathways are coming to fruition and paying big dividends. We kind of talked about that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we may have answered that one before.
Yeah. Another one by Nui Ash. One of the illustrious knuckleheads on Fox Sports recently suggested that the Titans should look to spend big money on securing a decent hooker as their top priority. What happened to Nathan Peets and Mitch Rain? Have they both fallen off the radar due to poor form or succumbed to long-term injuries?
I think Peets is still a bloody good 9. I'd take him at the Tigers any day of the week.
Yeah, and I think Rain is too.
Rain's not bad.
Yeah. I think they're both pretty good. I think that this year they've been trying to see which one is the one they're going to go with. But yeah, I like both players.
I'd also like to ask, how many genuine 9s are there in the game at the moment? Especially ones that are available.
Yeah, it's
there's not a lot out there.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys are struggling right now with one. The Broncos had to get an old one. The Knights have gone through all the Knights have gone through a dozen of them, poor buggers.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke there, self-censor myself.
Yeah, sometimes you have to, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, most clubs have got tokenistic 9s, I guess, or manufactured ones that they've had to relocate. Even even the Dragons have moved their genuine 9 to lock and had their halfback who they signed for $1 million a year to hooker. So I don't know what's going on with the development of nines. We had a period several years back where there was a shortage of halfbacks in the game. Now we just seem to have, in my opinion, a shortage of number nines in the game.
You know, you got a visitor.
Hmm?
You got a visitor.
Do I?
Oh, no, I thought you had a visitor.
No.
Okay, so we've got some actual emails here. Here's one from Richard. Oh, Lambretta, who he's going back through our back catalogue at the moment. I can't remember what he's up to. He's in the 100, so 100. So 100 and something. Anyway, he says, NRL shit ideas. Tailgate parties are one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard of. The reason Americans have them is because their stadiums are built in cultural wastelands. Yeah, it's called America. On industrial estates in butt-fuck US nowhere. New city centres. I should have read this point. Butt-fuck. In Australia, we have things called pubs. If you go to the footy, before you get there, you can go to the pub and get as tanked as you like. If you want food, go to the fucking pub bistro. Sheesh. Good work calling out this writer for the moron they are. P.S. Sorry for the late response. I'm trying to catch up. Oh, and his name is Lambretta.
Yes, he's a legend.
Yeah. Gets in touch with us a lot.
Yeah, every now and then he gets in touch and says, I'm up to episode like 100 and something like that. And I go, let's put out 2 more, 3 more, and just keep him behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. Here's one. He actually sent an attachment with it. I'll see if it'll load up on this. Yeah, it's not loading up. Oh, God damn it. Didn't want to do that. Anyway, he said, hi, guys. Just wanted to let you know about lovely Abbey. I went to in Kirkstall, which is in Leeds. I sent you a photo so you can see how lovely it is. I think they are still building it by the look of things. They might get it finished soon, although COVID may have slowed them. There is a lovely pub nearby called Kirkstall Bridge Hotel. I had a wonderful burger there, but I think they forgot the gravy. Keep up the fabulous work. Great podcast, 6 out of 5 stars. I did get to see this picture, actually, but it's not loading at the moment on my...
any place that serves anything that even resembles food in the UK forgets the gravy.
Yeah, it's like
that's the first thing they cook.
It's one of the 3 food groups. It's like gravy, curry, and fish, or battered.
Yeah, batter.
Okay.
It's gravy, curry, and batter, and then everything else is just an addition to that.
Okay, here's one. Okay, that's not one. Patrick sent us another massive email. I wanted to pick up on Andrew Ferguson's answer to the Ask Kenty question that was about relocating the Sharks to the Gold Coast. I often hear rugby league people say we've done relocation and it doesn't work. The fact is we have never done relocation, and by evidence looking at other sports here in Australia and around the world, it does work. Mergers don't work unless they completely create a new brand identity and administration. Not half-split administration with half-split boards. West Tigers and Dragons, case in point. Also, Andrew Ferguson, he's into you in this one, eh? Also, Andrew Ferguson mentioned if Sharks were relocated to the Gold Coast, the Sharks and Rugby League would lose all their supporters from the Cronulla area. Again, this is wrong. Although some people from the Cronulla area will be pissed and leave the Sharks and Rugby League, I would comfortably say at least 50% would still support the Sharks. I think people look at North Sydney Bears and how we lost a large proportion of Bears and Rugby League supporters from the area, but that is because the team was kicked out and banished with no NRL representation. Supporters would rather have their team at least represented in the NRL, be it relocated to another area than not represented at all. That's why I'm such a big believer in relocating North Sydney Bears to the Gold Coast and merging with the Burleigh Bears. Overtake a soulless going nowhere Titans brand, creating a club Gold Coast locals have a strong historical connection with, while bringing back North Sydney Bears fans. We lost to the game. It's a win-win. He's got one for me. I agree with League Freak. Sharks to Perth is a strong, viable option. If the Cronulla areas continue to be served well with community rugby league clubs, maybe a reserve grade team, the area will continue to have a strong hold for the game. Okay, so he thinks that Perth is a goer, and he says relocation works, and he says there's no doubt relocation works and is far better option than suits creating new soulless identities such as Titans, Bombers, Crushers, Chargers, Giants. Case in point, cheers, PK.
Yeah, you've got to create teams if you're going to expand the game, and I think it would be better served if Perth had their own team with their own locals in it than if they got some adopted team from Sydney who they don't give a shit about.
Yeah, I think the Bears thing is gone. I think that it's just done.
Well, that's the other thing. The reason why we lost all the Bears fans is they merged them with a team that they literally hated, and that was Manly. Yeah. And then the writing was on the wall. Like, they could see from a mile away that Manly was going to control that team, and they had every intention of getting rid of them, and then they did. Yeah. So that's why North fans are pissed off, and that's why they never come back to the game, and you can understand why. I think if Cronulla had emerged with St George, which is what St George wanted, which we discussed in one of the 90s episodes, that would have had a similar impact. Yeah. If that had been Cronulla had emerged with St George, that would have been known as the St George or the St George Sutherland Dragons or something like that. Yeah, there would have been no one in Cronulla supporting that team, and it's because it's merged with a team who they hate. You know, the thing that made Balmain and West work, and I say work because it hasn't folded somehow, is the fact that they didn't actually have a history where they hated one another. Yeah. West were never really, for the majority of their history, sorry to Magpies fans if you don't like it, but, you only won 4 premierships in 90 years. They were never a successful team. Aside from a period in the 30s and then a period in the 60s, that was pretty much it, and a hiccup in the 70s where they made the finals. That was it. The rest of it, they were also Rands or they were wooden spooners. Balmain, sure, they weren't immensely better, but they were generally even more competitive. I mean, even in the 90s, they won the wooden spoon in 94, but even in the few years after that, they usually finished, kind of like the West Tigers now, close to the finals. Yeah. And that was for the team that had no stars in it other than Tim Brasher, really. Yeah. And so they knew success a little bit better. But they never really had rivalries where they played against one another and had, violent matches or any sort of long history. Balmain's history was against South, really. West was the more recent one against Manly. That was pretty much it. So that kind of worked a little bit easier. St George and Illawarra, a similar thing. Illawarra had only been around since the early 80s. And they didn't have any sort of real rivalry with any team. So when you got something like that where two teams don't actually really hate one another, it makes it easier for a merger to, work as much as one can imagine a merger to work. But I don't know. I just don't think that moving teams is going to make them any stronger or bring in any new fans. If you move Cronulla over to Penrith and you pick up, say for argument's sake, 10,000 fans in Perth, but you lose 10,000 fans in Cronulla, what's the point? And that's a very likely situation. If you lose 50% of the Shark supporters and you gain the same number of supporters over in Perth because it's a brand new market, you haven't achieved anything. So what's the point?
But what if the counter argument to that is you move the Sharks to Perth tomorrow, right? And say let's say that you get only 8,000 fans in Perth for the Sharks. Wouldn't the point be that you can say, well, that's 8,000 is your starting point, and you've got way more room to grow than the Cronulla Sharks have been able to grow since 1967? Whereas
because your starting point isn't 8,000. The 8,000 is what you got in Perth, but your starting point's got to also subtract the fans that you've lost in Cronulla.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, say your net loss is 2,000 fans immediately, but then wouldn't you be able to make a real good argument that the Perth team now has an ability to grow from 8,000 to being more than Cronulla would ever be able to grow, just being based in Cronulla?
Possibly. I think, though, and it's something that we may have mentioned before, is the one thing that we should be doing is having lower grade set up there, so that there's that genuine trend into first grade. Because if you're just moving Cronulla over there, and Cronulla has a reserve grade team, do their reserve grade players then have to travel over to Perth to play in the first grade team, or is Perth going to have their own local reserve grade team who, when they get to first grade, they're playing for some other team?
See, like, I know that West Australia it actually has a pretty long history of being able to it has its own comp, and it's produced NRL talent on its own back, but the question about how you handle a reserve grade competition, because the travel costs are going to be the exact same for a reserve grade team as they're going to be for the first grade team. So it's a whack. And how do you deal with that? Do you do something along the lines of what the Melbourne Storm do, where their feted club is in the New South Wales, in the Queensland Cup competition? I think that's maybe the way to do it.
Yeah, I think this cost thing is a distraction.
Yeah.
Let's take this for an argument, okay? The A-League has teams in pretty much every state of Australia, really.
Yeah.
How much money do you think the NRL is making more than the A-League every year?
Yeah.
If the A-League can do it on a much lower income, then why can't the NRL do it?
Well, even the Super Netball does it, don't they?
Exactly. AFL does it. And whether you like AFL or not, their budget and their income is similar to the NRL's. And they've got 2 teams in Perth, 2 teams in Adelaide, 2 teams in Queensland. They've got 2 teams in Sydney, a heap in Victoria. Their structure is similar as far as, their main state, Melbourne, has similar number of teams as what Sydney has.
Mm.
They've got 2 teams in around Brisbane, Brisbane Gold Coast. They're doing the long travel over to Perth, which is the same as NRL teams going over to New Zealand, essentially, or Townsville.
Yeah.
So there's a likeness there. The income for both of them is going to be kind of similar, and they can do it. And they're doing it with lower grade competitions as well. I can't see why the NRL can't do it. That's why I think this argument about cost, which the NRL constantly comes up with, is more often than not a furphy. I don't think cost is an issue. That's just something they throw up to justify not going ahead with it.
Yeah, and I think as long as Peter V'landys is in charge, he just basically spiked all the good work that the NRL had done over many years to get Perth ready, take an origin there and everything, and he comes in and decides to change the rules and is like, oh, yeah, we're not going to have a Perth team. I don't like that idea. Fucking ridiculous.
Well, we also saw this week that the NRL's about to scrap the nines as well.
Yeah, I understand that, because there was always going to be an issue about how we had an off season, because the clubs need an off season to do a number of things. So I wasn't shocked by that. And look, the last year's nines, we talked about it not that long ago. Like, who fucking knows who won it? Who cares?
But it's more the talk is that they're going to can it for good. It's not just for next year; it's for good.
I've got no problem with that. I would rather them say, let's get rid of the NRL nines in the format that it was, where it was only NRL teams. I would rather there be the World Nines every 2 years or something instead.
I think the thing for me is it's almost like they're trying to do everything they can to eliminate their links with Western Australia now. Yeah,
it does. It feels that way, doesn't it?
And I think that's what's going on there. And that, I think, is stupid.
Yeah, and it's basically, it's all the dinosaur thinking. And, the dinosaurs have got their hands on the steering wheel at the moment, unfortunately. And,
Let's look after our own kind. Don't worry about anyone else.
Yeah.
It's very insular.
Greatest game in the world. They're not going to Perth. They won't watch it.
Yeah. So is that it for the emails, or is there a bit more?
Yeah, that's all the emails. That's all of them. We got through them. We've been needing to do that for 3 weeks nearly. And, we've talked about the footy. It's been a good long episode. It's enjoyable. You know what? Me and you should do some more rugby league podcasts.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah? Would you be up for that?
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Nice.
We'll try and pump out a heap this week.
Yeah, I've actually I think Nadine is going to come back on to do the round preview because we were talking we were direct messaging during the Panthers game. We basically made a pact that it's our duty to keep doing these previews because a lot of the things she said in the game she nailed it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm just watching the Wigan Wakefield game here, and the second row has just been knocked out by a fullback.
Yeah, he looks like he's all right. They're checking him. They're doing all the checks on his neck.
He's just having a nap. Wigan's leading 16-6. They've just come out after half time. It's been a pretty dire game, if we're honest.
Yeah, I honestly haven't been paying any attention to what's happening in Super League. I don't really care. Is that bad to say?
There's George Burgess.
Oh, look at him.
I could tell, and it wasn't because I looked at his name in his back of his jumper.
What were you looking at?
His knees.
Oh, he's all strapped up, is he?
No.
Oh.
I just read.
I got it. I got that. All right. I got that. Wow, look at Adrian Lamb's beard. I like it.
Yeah, it's very very distinguished.
Yeah, it's striking.
He's very gentlemanly and salt and pepper beard.
I feel like I want him to pass on wisdom to me.
I don't know. I feel like I want him to run his fingers through my hair and tell me everything's going to be okay.
Oh, jeez. Very, very intense, very quickly.
Yeah.
Andrew Fafita looking like Arthur Beetson out there.
David even.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, David. Oh, is it going to be trying the corner? No.
There was a very good try by Bevan French, actually, in the first half.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
He should be over here. Can you imagine if Gold Coast had him on one side of the field and Kelly on the other?
Or the West Tigers. Put him at fullback.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Dewey, hey?
I don't mind him. I think he's okay. What he may lack up for in skill, he makes up for in bloody heart. And so I can't hate on a player who's given everything he's bloody got every week. I just don't know what position you play him.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's grabbing his wrist.
Tom Johnson.
We're really quickly descending into let's just watch a game of footy, hey?
Well, there's only 30 minutes left in this.
It's interesting.
Do you ever think that when George Burgess grabs someone by the leg, he's sitting there thinking... This reminds me of that time last night I was in the shower.
It's interesting that they've got the Super League going back again. It's very touch footy-ish.
Well, they've abolished scrums.
Yeah, well, you don't want to have players all standing around in the same area breathing into each other, you know.
Or this close contact stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, being tackled by three men, that's fine. But being in a brief huddle with, several more men is that could spread coronavirus for people who are all locked down from being with the public, so they don't get coronavirus. I don't get the idea of scrapping scrums.
Neither do I. Don't understand it. It seems like a really dumb idea, but this is an organisation where they get, they get voted into positions and they wear a big necklace to show that that's their position. So, what the fuck?
Machine.
Yeah. While they sit in front of a vending machine on a bunch of fold-out chairs and tables, it's like, oh, well, that's a really nice fucking Mr. T.
It's kind of like watching the Pope getting coronated at a train station.
Yeah. It's like, oh, is that the Pope? What's he doing at fucking Mount Druitt Station?
Oh, he's just getting a $5 bottle of Coke and a $3 Mars bar.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, he's shaking the machine. It's not come out. But yeah, it's a weird one. Have we had a crusher tackle here on David Fafita?
Fafita is pleading for a penalty.
Let's have a look here.
Oh, a little bit.
A little bit. Just an accidental one, though.
Yeah, I'd be more worried about the hand up the ass, to be honest.
Yeah, same here. You never want to be used like a puppet. Well, some people do, actually. I've seen videos where...
Yeah.
Anyway. George Burgess just... Do
you think there's a link between the name George and, hog size?
What other Georges have there been in history?
King George?
King George.
George Clooney?
Yeah.
George of the Jungle? George Jetson?
George Foreman?
Yeah, I'm struggling here. I'm sure that's enough of a field to justify that I might be on the right track.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew, I've got nothing for you.
No, we'll go with that. This is some weird tackling style here.
Yeah, there's not much defence here. Hey,
it just runs up and stands still. There's no slide. Oh, French is playing. Oh no, he's not playing 5-8. I keep forgetting they get to choose their own number.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just find that absolutely stupid.
I hate it. I was actually talking to Sandy about it and was saying how in Australia you kind of have to earn your number and keep it, whereas over there they just pick it. And she understood because she's used to how it is in North America where you pick your number as well. And she didn't understand why we did it differently. And when I explained it, she was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Well, ours is position based. I think the Super League is based on like NBA, NFL type thing where you pick a number and stick with it.
Yeah, all year. I remember.
But the problem is like unlike in the NBA especially, but the NFL as well. I mean, most players pick a number and they stick with it for their career.
Yeah.
These guys pick with it and stick it until Christmas time.
Yeah, and it's more a way for them to be able to sell jerseys. But the other thing is too, like you got, man, there'd be some players that would be like, say 5'8" or something, and they thought they were king shit, so they'd wear the number 1 jersey all year, and it's like, ugh, so gross. Well, then you'd always get the douchebag that wants number 23.
Yeah, you're not Michael Jordan. Just settle down.
Yeah.
That's always funny. I love watching rugby league players with number 23 and they're back in the Super League.
What number would you wear if you had to pick a number? Wrong. The answer's 69. You know, Dennis Rodman wanted to wear number 69 when he went to the Bulls and they wouldn't let him.
What was his number in the end?
From memory, it was 91, was it? I think it was 91.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go with something like 4.
Yeah, why 4?
Because I didn't mind playing at centre.
Yeah. I'll go with number 1 because I'm number 1, bruh.
Man, I had you pegged for a 23.
No, I wasn't on the Bulls bandwagon. I was a Houston Rockets fan, so my number was number 34. I actually, in woodwork, made a footstool that I carved number 34 into both sides of the legs. Should take a picture of it. 34 is a bit sketchy looking, but the stool is actually really good. I'm looking at it right now. It's very nice, made out of radiata pine. Very
Still
good.
going.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's nothing wrong with it. It's as good as the day I made it. And I'm trying to think, did I lacquer that myself or did I think I lacquered it myself. Because the school lacquer, remember it used to be, I don't know if it was the same for you lot, but it used to be like basically oil. It wasn't real lacquer. And somehow I had like proper, like real rich lacquer. And yeah, I used that. I remember, you know what? I've actually got a chopping board that I made, I think in year 7, and I'm looking at that right now too, weirdly enough.
Ours, in the country, our lacquer was pretty much tar. And I think it might have had asbestos in it. It was pretty rough gear.
Yeah.
No, I made a pencil case, I think, in woodwork.
Oh, really? One of the ones where you slide the top onto it?
You slide the lid across. We made something else. I can't remember what it was now. We also had metalwork. We had to weld stuff together. I can't remember what I made in that, though.
You know, we had...
I just remember... See, the problem I had in metalwork
Yeah.
was my old man is very, very good welder, builder, engineer, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I had all the pressure in the world on me. It's kind of like being Mitchell Pearce.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a legacy
leg
to uphold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was a hell of a legacy to uphold. And so I tried to opt out of doing metalwork at any cost. I couldn't live up to that hype.
Do you know, I think it was in year 8 or 9, I can't quite remember, I picked design and I did design and technology A. There was 2 classes you could do, A or B. And I had the day that they were picking, that you had to pick your courses, Super Bowl day. I never went to school on Super Bowl day. So I go and it's like, you got to pick what's left. So I picked design A or whatever was there. So the teacher that we had was actually this female PE teacher who didn't like me. I think it was because she liked netball, and I thought netball was a shit sport, and I told her. Anyway, so she changed the whole class from design and technology A to sewing and jewelry making. And so you can imagine, I fucking blew up. I was like, I can't do sewing and jewelry making. I want to change courses. I wasn't able to change courses. So I ended up doing a course, and I made like a ring out of silver, and it was like there was nothing special about it. It was literally a bodgy ring of silver. And yeah, jewelry making and sewing. Fuck, you can imagine what my reaction was like.
I did home ec, which was cooking.
Oh, really?
And all the guys used to shit on me all the time for it.
Yeah.
Guess how many of those guys have to get females to cook food for them? I make my own tacos now.
Yeah. Actually, they've got it right. What are you talking about? You know, I'm trying to think. I remember I did because I got to a point where I think it was year 9 or 10. I can't remember. No, it would have been year 10, where you could pick as many PE courses as you wanted to do. So I picked all of them, right? Like I did fucking orienteering. And there was one of them where we had this PE teacher, and she didn't like me either. Most of the PE teachers really liked me, but there was 2 that didn't. There was the netball one, and this other one who, how would I describe her?
Careful.
I know, I'm trying to be really careful. She was a very handsome person. Does that make sense? Am I allowed to say that? She was a handsome woman. Anyway, she didn't like me, and I remember in the class she said, we're going to learn korfball. And I was like, why? And she was like, because it's really big in Germany. I was like, no, I don't think it is. Soccer is. And she was like, no, korfball. We've got to learn it. And what a load of shit. What a fucking dumb sport korfball is.
So I'm just stuck on handsome.
Yes, I don't even... I think you know what I mean, though, don't you?
Yeah, like she had a well-trimmed beard.
She's a good person. I'm not saying anything bad about her. She didn't like me, though. Other PE teachers loved me. I was about to say her name. I had a PE teacher that really liked me, and I would go to the PE room on a Wednesday, which was sport day, go in the morning, pick one of my mates out and say, let's go and chat with so-and-so. So I'd go in, knock on the door, the teacher's door, PE teacher's door, and I'd say, hey, can we help you put out the sport equipment later on? And she was like, yeah, no worries. So we'd put out the sport equipment with her and get out of all of the classes on Wednesday. It was great. And then I'd go and play footy or do whatever sport I was doing at the time. Good stuff. If you're out there, Belinda, how's it going, sweetheart?
That was lovely.
Yeah.
I had my first PE teacher in high school got the sack for one of the students.
Really? What? Really? At your school? Wasn't there only like 16 kids at your school?
No, this is when I was in high school. That was a much bigger school. There's probably a few hundred there.
Really?
I think about 600 or 700 when I started there.
Really?
It was down about 400 when I finished year 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
We've got to move on, Andrew.
We do.
Yeah. Anyway, it's good to take people down memory lane sometimes, isn't it?
It is. Even if it's just a memory lane that we have that they can't relate to.
Yeah, they've probably switched off.
They're gone. They're talking about shit now.
Yeah.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should pay for some of this billboarding over there in these Super League games. Just put a big logo up there for Manscaped.
That would be really cool. If so, you see all of these billboards they've got in the background. If we wanted to put our podcast on, right? Which one do you think they don't need? You tell me, Andrew. That's called putting you in a box.
The one that says Prestone on it.
Yeah, what's Prestone?
No idea.
You almost got to look.
No idea. Tell you what I'd do.
Yeah.
Is I go up to the Super League and say, look, I want to do some advertising with you, and I've had a look at some of your past models, and I've got a good idea, and that is, you put my advertising up there, I give you nothing in return, and I'll talk about you on social media, like glowingly.
Yeah.
I'll say nice things about the game, and that'll be it. So where do I sign?
Yeah, they'd probably go for that. See, I couldn't say that because as soon as they Googled my website, all bets are off.
Well, you got to say, as of this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't be making deals based on what happened in the past.
Yeah, the past is the past.
Yeah,
we're looking
done.
towards the future here. Yeah.
We can't undo what's done. I think that would work.
I wonder what Prestones is.
I don't know. I see that an all I'm reminded of is a Top Gear episode where they named one of they put fake sponsors on the side of the car because as BB said they couldn't put real sponsor names on there.
Yeah.
So they put one on there as Penist and Biscuits or something like that. But when you open the door, it just said penis.
Yeah, I remember that one. I tell you what, this time of the year, Headingley Cricket Ground's car park looks pretty nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the grass looks smick.
It really does. Did you see the wet weather footy today at Cogra? I couldn't believe how waterlogged that ground was. I haven't seen a NRL ground that waterlogged in years and years and years.
No, that was amazing how many puddles were all over the place.
Yeah, and the ball was just dying on a kick. It'd get one or two bounces and just die.
Yeah. I was genuinely impressed with how the Sharks played in that game because I was expecting them to fall in a bit of a heap and get rolled pretty easily, even with the conditions. But they really took it to para.
How good was P&G Gandalf? Looking schmick. Isn't it funny that he played for Queensland and under no circumstances does he qualify for Queensland? Like, not even in the slightest way.
Not the first. Won't be the last.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how when they tightened up the eligibility rules, Queensland turned to shit, though, eh? That was funny how that worked out.
Yes.
Do you know the Super League logo? Right?
Yeah.
It just, when I look at because it's changed over the years.
Yeah, it's now a really fat ass.
It just looks like a bowel obstruction to me. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, it does. It's a very fat ass.
Yeah, it looks like someone needs to go in and, I don't know,
call a plumber.
Yeah, something's impacted in there and they need to get it, scraped out or whatever happens when that happens.
Too many chips.
Too much of the gravy in the battered.
Yeah, too much battered gravy.
Yeah.
Here's a few basic block plays, and look how effective they are. Geez, tackle him. That's an idea. It's not touch footy. Scrums might be banned, but you know what? Tackling isn't. Oh, boy.
Jeez, they're bad.
Oh, shit. Who's that coach?
I'm not sure. Isn't it weird that Nathan Brown's big idea to save the New Zealand Warriors is to sign a bunch of outside backs from England? And I tweeted today, just name a list of outside backs that have come over from England that have been anything other than disastrous.
Mackinson. Joe Burgess.
They haven't come over.
Joe Burgess came over.
Yeah, but he was here for like 5 minutes and went home.
Yeah, but he was brilliant.
How dare you?
Shh! Don't tell Nathan.
What about
Andy Courier?
Well, somebody said there was somebody tweeted me and they said they listed a bunch of names. One of them was Ellery Hanley. It was
That's a given.
Come on, dude. He's not an outside backer when he was playing in Australia.
No, he was a 5'8" and a lock.
One of them was Martin Offia. And I was like, come on, he was here for 5 minutes. That doesn't count. Who were the other ones? The other ones were shit. The other ones
Wakefield?
I don't think he said Schofield.
Okay. Sean Edwards?
No, he didn't say Sean Edwards, no.
He's missing some of the,
Jonathan Davies. He said Jonathan Davies. Fucking garbage.
Okay.
More garbage.
Did he mention Andy Courier?
No.
Oh, good.
But look how far you're going back, man. It's like when you start talking about outside backs that have come to Australia from England that have been good, because I was saying that the best English player of all time is Bob Fulton. and like I'm right. He's born in England. Best English player of all time. He's the only English immortal.
Who else has been outside? Yeah, I'm just thinking of outside backs. They're a bit more recent.
Yeah. What was his name? He played for the Broncos. Jack
Reed.
Jack Reed. He was solid.
Gareth Widdop.
Well, Gareth Widdop, would you call him an outside back?
I think he started as a fullback.
Yeah.
It's not really an outside back, but it's...
I mean, I'll say I've always rated Gareth Widdop.
Oh, yeah. One of our Toner's greatest ever players, if not the best.
Yeah. How bad is Ryan Hall, though? Is he the worst NRL player?
No.
Who do you think's worse?
Bryce Cartwright.
Oh, man.
See, I can forgive Ryan Hall for how bad he is because he's old. But Bryce Cartwright is young and not even close to his prime, and he was close to Origin selection, and now he's
in zero.
He's a horrid. I rate him as the worst player at the moment, hands down.
I think. How old's Bryce Carr? What would he be? 25?
I'm not even sure if he's that old. Let me have a look.
I'm going to say 25.
No, he's 25.
Okay. So I was right.
He turns 26 in November.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you're right.
And what's his face? He's 31, I would say.
Ryan Hall.
Yeah.
See, I've got a feeling he might be older than that.
Yeah.
He's 32.
Okay.
He turns 33 about a week after Bryce Cartwright does.
Oh, really? And the thing about Ryan Hall, too, like from memory, he's had 2 blowout knee problems.
Yes.
Which
What injuries has Bryce Cartwright had?
And that's the thing. That's a really good point you make. Bryce Cartwright's never had an injury.
He's got no excuses. He doesn't have old age. He doesn't have old injuries. He's just shit.
So if you're say one of them has to sign for the West Tigers, who are you picking?
Yeah, I'll take Ryan Hall.
Wow, I would take Bryce Cartwright, I think.
I'd never go near him.
Yeah, I don't want to, but I feel as though Ryan Hall is catastrophic, whereas Bryce Cartwright, I can stick him on the bench and just not use him. But Ryan Hall, you kind of got to start on the wing.
Yeah, I'd take Ryan Hall.
Okay. Controversy on the podcast.
Controversy, yeah.
What was the other thing we disagreed with?
Josh Reynolds kicking at someone's head.
Kicking. That's right. That's right. You were completely wrong on that one too. How weird is it? That's the 2 things we really have properly not agreed. Positive reinforcement on Fergo and the Freak.
There you go.
Oh, shit.
There you go. See, that way people can't say that I'm opposed to every British player. I wrote one of them over
Bryce
Bryce
Cartwright.
Cartwright.
People keep saying that about me, but it's only a bunch of whinge and poms, so it doesn't matter.
I rate George Williams over Bryce Cartwright.
Oh, yeah, I rate George Williams over Bryce Cartwright. I would rate, what's his name? The busted hooker at Canberra. I'd rate
Josh Hodgson.
Yeah, Josh Hodgson over Bryce Cartwright.
Herbie Farnworth.
Herbie, he's actually pretty handy. He's a pretty good athlete. He's a,
you know how many times they mentioned he was British during the week?
I know, right?
754 times.
I know. I love his name. He reminds me of the old dude on Futurama, but it's just his name anyway. But he just
reminds me of those shitty car movies from the 80s.
I love those movies.
I've never watched them since.
Herbie Goes to Everywhere. I loved them.
Herbie Goes Bananas.
I don't remember all the names of them, but I used to love watching those movies when I was a kid.
I'm certain he was named after that car.
I hope so.
How could he not be?
You're
either Herbert, or you're named after Herbie the Love Bug.
That's true. I wonder where he's from in England, because that would say a lot. Like, is he from like a... He wouldn't be from London, so we know that he's from sometime back in the 60s or 70s.
Do you want to have a guess?
I'm going to say he's from Lancashire.
Yes, correct.
And he is from, let me guess, I feel like it's Warrington, Lee.
Starts with B.
Bolton?
Burnley.
Who plays for Burnley?
Wasn't quite what you had in mind, was it?
No. Still, stepping back in time, I'm guessing when going to Burnley.
Well, that's true.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm sure it's a nice, quaint town. It's very special.
I've not been there, so I'm not going to pass judgment on them. I'll only criticise the ones I've been to.
I'm sure it's on most people's. Oh, that's rough. That's even rough for me, man.
They're balanced like that.
Yeah. There were some nice places in England. The Departure Lounge. It's pretty good. I wouldn't want this lounge for that. Got myself a lemonade.
Was it real lemonade or was it just...
Yeah, it was a Schweppes.
It was a Schweppes.
It was one of those 3/4 cans.
So it wasn't quite a proper drink then?
No, but I was like, you got to remember, I got like a 26-hour flight ahead of me. And so I didn't want to like stock up on coffee or anything like that. I don't know that I was drinking coffee back then. Do you know I went about 8 years without drinking anything with caffeine in it or eating chocolate?
Was that prior to your birth?
No.
What a try!
Oh,
that's absurd. We've just seen an English winger doing essentially an AFL mark on the sideline and then reaches out with one hand down, sort of behind him, and gets the ball down before going into touch. He's doing all that in the middle of the air. Man, this is insane.
So Trinity, they get the ball. Nice kick over the left-hand side.
Everyone's on side.
Everyone's on side.
You can press play.
It's nicely placed kicked.
Tom Johnson.
Oh, that's a nice grab in the air.
And then one-handed.
Oh, get it down, son. Get it down. He's palming that ball.
He's got it.
Get it down.
Yes.
He scored. That's very good. That's a good effort.
Just before his foot went into touch.
Yeah. His ankle is up over the sideline. Oh, that's nice. That's good body control.
Easy and easy. Green light that shit.
Yeah. We already know the result here.
Yeah. Taking a while.
Try.
Hang on, you got to do it like the English commentators do.
TRI.
You got to spell it every time.
Tom Johnston. He's had 6 tries in Super League
this year.
Yeah. Very
That's a
good
cracker.
effort.
That is a cracker.
He's one of the most naturally gifted wingers that play for Wakefield Trinity in 2020.
On the left side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not being too niche.
No. Good effort.
Who's the goal kicker? Oh, the Frenchman. Man, he's nailed that. Can the Tigers pick him? He's a fullback and a goal kicker.
Excellent stuff.
He was playing at Toronto at the start of the year, I believe.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was on loan, I think.
That's a real good try. Very
impressive.
That.
Points for the degree of difficulty too.
Yeah, give him a call, Nathan Brown.
Yeah, pick him up straight away.
Yeah.
There he is. Coach.
He's pissed off. He lost a job to Nathan Brown. No, you're a bludger, coach.
He was looking impressed.
He's keeping an eye. He's casting his eye over the players in this game ahead of the 2021 World Cup. Like, go home, Sean.
Well, that's right. He's the coach of England now, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be tough to beat.
That's an upgrade.
Yeah. Well, it was Wayne Bennett's fault that they lost. Did you hear that?
Yeah. I just think it was stupid signing Wayne Bennett in the first place, to be honest.
Well, Ben, he phoned it in.
He did, yeah.
He phoned it in. Some of his selections were pretty shit. But, he was picking from a pile of manure.
He's also doing a feel good and, picking a team via email.
Yeah, that doesn't work, see?
No.
I'm going to badger everyone on Twitter about that. How's he doing this job when he's not in fucking New Zealand? How outrageous that a club would pay somebody that doesn't even live in the country to tell them how to fix the junior development? That's outrageous.
That's stupid.
It really is.
But, Gould has all the answers. He'll tell you.
Yeah, just ask him.
Yeah. Oh, Karen. All right, come on, Wakey. Just kick it over to the corner again. Tommy can catch it.
Oh, nice little offload there. Step, dummy. They should have miles of space out on the right-hand side.
Come on, Wakey.
And he goes left.
Horrible ball.
Yep, really terrible. Behind him, low.
Not a bad run in the end. He just took it back to where the ball was.
Yep, that's what you want to do. Go nowhere. Nowhere at all. Now they're going off to the right. One play too late.
Drops the ball cold.
Yeah. They had a nice backline set up. They didn't know what they were going to do with it. But they knocked it on. Look at that. They see, this is the thing about English rugby league, right? They don't really understand backline plays.
Or passing. But why on the last would you pass a crash ball to a front row when you got the backline set out wide?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like Cronulla 2014 type of play. Just give it to Gal on the last. He'll do it.
England's own Jack Hastings.
I don't know. This looks a bit like a Parramatta playing Great Britain from 1992.
Yeah, it's weird. That's the one thing about Wakey's jersey. It always just reminds me of Great Britain. And it just, I don't know, you feel like you're about to watch a failure unfold,
Saying that, I did like the old Great Britain jumpers.
Yeah, they were good. I loved it. Anytime, I watch them play, I always end up happy. But they do, it is a nice throwback to the good old days when they were good for TV and stuff.
Before we were born.
Oh, before most fucking people that are alive were born. Let's face it. If you were born when Great Britain were good, shit, man, you don't want to get Rona.
How's your retirement going?
Yeah, you're sitting somewhere in a fucking retirement home hoping that the dirty bastards at work there are washing their hands and they come in with their fucking face mask on.
Exactly right. Well, we're into the last 9 minutes and 50 seconds of this game. Didn't think we were going to be talking about this game of footy when we started this podcast, but,
No,
We probably didn't think we were going to be mentioning the Formula One either.
that's true. We're
Is
all
this
real all-rounders here.
is this going to be helpful for the SEO?
No, not at all.
Oh,
Although
damn.
we might get some listeners from small towns in northern England, but thankfully we won't get any listeners from, giant cities in North America, because who would want that?
That's right. Oh, here's a
Actually,
try.
oh, nice try. They're coming
Man
back
bun,
here, Wakey.
man bun scores.
Yeah, this is one of those Kardashian games.
Man, yeah, that's a hairstyle you can make an ugly mullet with.
That's true. I'm going to get Sandy on this week. I think she's coming on Wednesday or Thursday, and we're just going to have a chat about footy, hey?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Ask her thoughts on Adrian Lamb's
beard.
looks.
Yeah, why is Adrian Lamb's beard comforting to look at?
It's soothing.
It really is. I would love to see him just, stroke it. Like his beard, I mean.
Just get that and make a gif out of it that just repeats over and over again, and just watch that till you go to sleep at night.
Exactly. It's like a ASMR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you could just get the sound of him stroking his beard as well as the video.
Yeah.
There we go.
Liam Kay, Irishman, he scored 160 tries in his career, including club record 66 in 70 games, I believe it said.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is.
I love seeing an Irishman do well in rugby league, hey?
I wonder where in Ireland he was born.
Probably somewhere in Yorkshire.
Let's have a look, shall we?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is an important kick. It's going to bring them within a converted try of Wigan. So a little under 8 minutes left. It's kickable. Definitely kickable.
Yeah, he was born in England.
He splices it. He was born in England. Whereabouts in England?
It just says England.
That's good enough. It's all
No one knows.
It's only a small place.
The coach isn't happy.
Nah, well, he misses that kick, and that almost spikes the comeback. They would have to score pretty quickly after the restart here. And the Irishman come around the corner. Wow, seriously, a salad. Sorry.
Wait, he's playing a bit of our tempo. I'm just going to leave that one there.
Yeah, sorry.
That's perfectly fine.
Wow, this is a nice backline play. Ooh, nice tackle around the legs. Didn't complete it, but still. That's it. Run one out.
Yeah, you're only in your own half.
Yeah, just hit-ups. That's what we want. Feed me them hit-ups.
Where's Feeder? I want to see that big unit doing some beats and shit.
Yeah, same here. One-handed offloads, stuff like that.
Acrobatic tries and shit in the corner. So Wakey's just got into the Wigan half. Here comes the kick. It's a Hail Mary. No one's chasing hard enough.
No, it's a terrible kick. It put no pressure on the ball receiver, and now that Wigan is about 13 metres out from their own line, hitting it up. That's a good run there.
Yeah, it's the Fluoro Wigan Eels.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Warrington Rhinos.
Don't know what that job is about. That's just dumb.
They call themselves the Cherry and Whites, and then they wear that abomination.
It's like a kid designed it using black ballpoint pens and yellow highlighters.
Yeah. So you know what it looks like? A Parramatta Eels World Nines jersey.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. They just got it out of the bargain bin.
Yeah. With all the high vis work. There's that beard.
Look at that beard. That beard is just on point.
So that's the thing. Just as we started to get a little bit pensive about about something in the footy, Adrian Lamb's beard comes along and we're all calm again.
Beard, yeah, and everything's good in the world.
Mm.
Jackson Hastings, little offload and a drop ball there from the ball receiver.
Yeah, some ranger. He's probably from Ireland.
Probably. Even Andrew, it doesn't matter.
See? See, even when Adrian Lamb looks upset, it's still soothing.
Yeah, it really is. Here he goes, big fella, making some meters, still trying to get him to the ground. Quick, play the ball.
Yeah,
It's a good pick up by the dummy half. Goes one way, he comes back midfield.
And then they plot a 1 out up.
Yeah, they need to do something a little bit more creative than this. They got to score on this set to even be in with a shot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, it was almost a play there.
See, the problem with playing out wide in England is it's so easy to get dragged over the sideline.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bit of a dummy play. And there's a dumb play.
Kicks for himself. And
someone else gets it.
Wow, that was a brain explosion.
Yeah, that was, well, not so much an explosion. It was more of just a fart.
Yeah.
And one of those quiet farts. You know the ones where you're sitting there, you think, I'm going to build up a really big beast of a fart. And it just goes, the fuck? That's what that was.
So how often do you sit around thinking to yourself?
I spend a lot of time on trains with no one on there, thinking of ways to entertain myself with farts.
I'm gonna build up a big beast of. What the fuck, man?
Look, I'm working in an area at the moment where social distancing is always pushed.
Yeah.
And then what better way to promote social distancing than by letting off filthy farts?
Yeah, that's a good point. No one's within 1.5 metres of someone that's dropping their guts.
I did the other day, so I dropped my guts and said to someone, hey, can you smell that? And they go, what is it? I go, I know, it smells like something burning. And they come over and go, oh, yuck.
Yeah. That's right.
And then I did it to him 4 days later. I went, something smells like petrol. He goes, oh, not again. I went, fuck, you fall for it every time.
I gotta say, all right, that would be, I'd want to fight someone that did that to me. The disrespect. Utter disrespect.
I can't believe I got him the first time, let alone the second time.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's rough. Well, Wakefield, a valiant effort. They tried to make the comeback work, and it didn't.
They're now trailed by 7, so now David Fafita has to score a converted try and kick a field goal. That's a very unflattering image there if he's hanging out.
Yeah, but I would dare say he's got better cardio than pretty much everyone on the field, except Jack Hastings. Jack Hastings is just a powerhouse of human athletic achievement.
Of British brilliance.
Yeah. You know, while this game winds down, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that listens to us in North America.
There's a try.
Yeah, it's another try. Yeah, they might be in with a shot here.
He's in with another one.
We got the Irishman from England. We get a lot. It doesn't matter. No, we have a lot of listeners in North America. We're getting a lot from the United States recently too, so it's good to see. And anybody that's listening to us now from India, we are on one of the big Indian outlets. And so if you're listening from India and you've made it this far into the podcast, hello. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy it. Go to manscaped.com, put in the code NRL, 20% off. Go shave your scrote.
Exactly. Liam Cage tries converted. There's 2 minutes left. Wakefield trails by 1 point. And they're going to get the ball back here.
Here we go.
Dave Fafita kick a field goal from 60 out. What do you reckon?
I reckon he'd try it.
He'd give it a crack.
Wouldn't it be nice to see Wigan get whipped?
Oh, yeah.
Where are they at? They look like they're in a spray paint booth.
I was going to say someone's loft.
Someone's loft. They put a fucking TV in the lounge room next time.
Exactly. You know, where most people sit.
Yeah.
Sort of in the storage area. The crawl space in the roof.
Here we go. Dave Fafita, nice run from the first hit up.
Yeah, almost in field goal kicking area now.
Okay, second play. Up the guts of the field, hit up.
I'm going to take a guess here and say the next one's going to be a hit up. Called it.
You did. You called it good. They're just up over their own 40-metre line now. Quick play the ball.
Hit up again. Oh, no, they've gone two passes.
Through their
Three
back
passes.
line.
Oh,
Nice little offload out the back there. Going back in field, running all the way across the field, looking for a ball runner. Everyone wants to run sidewards from him.
Everyone's standing around looking.
Cross halfway. Coming up, 45 seconds left. They're not quite in field goal range. They probably need one more. They probably need that extra.
Having a crack.
Why not just go for it here?
That's a shocker.
That is fucking terrible. They had one more tackle under their belt, and he comes up with that shit.
That is a dog's breakfast.
Look at him. He's like, fuck these idiots. Miller.
That was. Yeah, I've seen dogs get kicked better than that.
Jesus Christ.
Not by me.
No, by other people.
I love dogs. Dogs are good.
I love dogs too. Yeah, it's delicious.
They're non-demanding.
No.
If you forget to feed them, they don't make a scene.
Nah,
you compare it to a cat, man. They go and knock shit off the bench. They make a fucking noise and a ruckus, and they whinge and bitch and moan about it for fucking hours.
You don't have a cat. You've got a fucking like a mini lion. It's not a cat.
It's okay. I'm training it to realise it is a cat. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Your fucking cat is like a... How often do you let your cat out, by the way?
It never goes outside.
Yeah, because it would just be a murdering machine.
Exactly.
That thing would kill more people than fucking coronavirus. All right. Well, I reckon we've done some good work here today, Andrew.
Yeah, that'll keep people busy.
Yeah, 3.5 hours on a Monday. And hopefully we've given people some laughs. We talked a lot of rugby league, watched a little bit of rugby league, talked some F1, talked some PE teachers, talked some high school, some fucking work.
There's Adrian name's beer just to round us out.
Yeah, very nice.
That's lovely. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can catch us on Twitter and Instagram at FergoFreakPod. You know all the rest. You've listened to enough. I won't go any further. Go to manscaped.com, buy stuff, put in the code NRL, and you'll get 20% off free shipping. Do it.
Do it.